nyamibwa nibera bose we
ye nyamibwa we
ye nguwo baramuranga Nyanza ya Mwima
ye nimutembere umanzi
sindirimba ndavuga abana we
ye nyamibwa we
abo twaheranye ishyanga inyuma y'u Rwanda
ye nimutembere umanzi
sinasigaye byanze kandi sinaryamye we
ye nyamibwa we
ye nasigaranye abana barumuna banyu
ye nimutembere umanzi
abo mwasize bose batashya we
ye nyamibwa we
ye babahaye impundu babateye inkunga
ye nimutembere umanzi
uri ijuru ga nyamuziba kahiyaga mugabo guri ijuru ryirabinkora uri ijuru garije mukerezo nahoga mukerezo kagacuna mpangu imandwa yibakwe mu maboko ya Rwabikobo niyo yakoze intambara data no mu bigo Rwanda rwasemaramba Rwanda kunduru mwana wandemeye nzabaza rutanga rw'intugu nini rutugamiza ikibuzi nkagushuka nzabaza umushumba uragiye abakwiye ikinani cy'isonga ikibuzi nkagushuka uri ijuru nyamuziba kahiyaga mugabo guri ijuru ryirabinkora uri ijuru garije mukerezo nahoga mukerezo kagacuna mpanga imandwa yibakwe mu maboko ya Rwabikobo niyo yakoze intambara data no mu bigo Rwanda rwasemaramba Rwanda kunduru mwana wandemeye nzabaza rw'amabahari y'imihigo urugero rw'indinganire nke ikibuzi nkagushuka nzakenyera bampa inkuyu n'inkoni mbimuture inyamibwa zishokeye zikine zihiganiye.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, May I have your attention, please? Can we please clear the aisles and sit down? The faster we're settled, the faster we can get on with the program. Thank you for your cooperation. All right.
ijuru gahije mukerezo nahoga mukerezo kagacuna mpangaye imandwa yibakwe mu maboko ya rwabikobo niyo yakoze intambara data no mu bigo Rwanda na rwasemaramba Rwanda kunduru mwana wandene komeza ibirindiro gihugu cyatubyaye ishema n'isheja rije bikuranga komeza ibirindiro gihugu cyatubyaye ishema n'isheja rije bikuranga ntawuguhigira itekurihigira ntawukuvugira urivuganira wagwije intore u Rwanda rwa Gasabo dushima umutoza wacu yawugahorana inganji komeza ibirindiro gihugu cyatubyaye ishema n'isheja rije bikuranga komeza ibirindiro gihugu cyatubyaye ishema n'isheja rije bikuranga yadutoje imbaduko mu byo dukora byose ngo bibe karande cyane mu muco wacu tubigira intego bizaduhesha agaciro kunoza ibyo dushinzwe biba inshingano kandi komeza ibirindiro gihugu cyatubyaye ishema n'isheja rije bikuranga komeza ibirindiro gihugu cyatubyaye ishema n'isheja rije bikuranga ubona icyubahiro amahanga atinyira ubugabo n'abakatangataga bananiwe yo kabihorana nyirishya ry'inka nyiringabo ikingiye u Rwanda mbe banyarwanda twamunganya nde wundi komeza ibirindiro gihugu cyatubyaye ishema n'isheja rije bikuranga komeza ibirindiro gihugu cyatubyaye ishema n'isheja rije bikuranga twakuye amaboko mu mifuka turitunga turihaza twanze gusabiriza ikoranabuhanga ryatugezeho natwe intego rimwe niyo kubaka u Rwanda komeza ibirindiro gihugu cyatubyaye ishema n'isheja rije bikuranga komeza ibirindiro gihugu cyatubyaye ishema n'isheja rije bikuranga
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, please continue to be seated. Our VIPs will make their way back to their seats, and we will proceed right after they sit down. Thank you very much.
maze imyaka 28 undi nkanjye amaze 14 abo hagati n'abari inyuma yayo ntawugishimishwa no kuba impunzi icyamara agahinda yoho n'icyanyereka iwacu nageze mu mwaka wa 3 banza ngakunda gutaramana na sogokuru akambwira ubwiza n'ibyiza by'u Rwanda niwe wansobanuriye ko ari iwacu icyamara agahinda yoho n'icyanyereka iwacu ngo hari imirambi yarambagiwe n'inyambo aho barambyaga ntibazabirambirwe ku itetero hateranirwaga n'ingenzi aho hose haritswe n'ifundi aho hose ngo habaye amatongo icyamara agahinda yoho n'icyanyereka iwacu ngaho tujye inama duhuze imigambi duhuze ijambo tureke kujijirwa 30 ishize y'agahuniko intwaro y'umutima isezerera amaganya icyamara agahinda yoho n'icyanyereka iwacu jye mfite agasambi yewe uwampa ikirago mbonye udushyimbo ariko nabuze icyungo mbuze akabando ngo nzamuke mu rweya umuseke weya n'abangezi iwacu umuseke weya n'abangezi iwacu icyamara agahinda yoho n'icyanyereka iwacu icyamara agahinda yoho n'icyanyereka iwacu icyamara agahinda yoho n'icyanyereka iwacu mva dufite amazina bwite n'ibisingizo baduhaye mama twiboneye utumanzi turi mu wacu buto bw'itoto
nyamibwa
mama twiboneye utumanzi n'umutangwa n'umutoni wa se n'umutangana mu rubyiruko mama twiboneye utumanzi ngira icyo nkundira mucyo wera gira urugamba gira urw'indinda mama twiboneye utumanzi gira urugamba gira urw'indinda igitaramo cy'abadasigana mama twiboneye utumanzi turi mu rutoki rw'urutunda rwatorewe gutegura mama twiboneye utumanzi dore musinga yaramugaruje kandi akubitaho kumugayira mama twiboneye utumanzi cyo nimwishirira agahinda umukobwa yaruse abandi mama twiboneye utumanzi nyamwambukira mu bwato w'ibigaga bitamuhanda mama twiboneye utumanzi bitamuhandira amaribo yaribo intege n'ibyano mama twiboneye utumanzi yaribo ikibero cy'iburyo naho icy'ubumoso kirahimba mama twiboneye utumanzi hari nyamusekeri igasange igasabo bakabariza mama twiboneye utumanzi iyo nseko se niyanjye niya rusaro rubasumba mama twiboneye utumanzi yabasumbye mu gihagararo naho ingenda rabahebuza mama twiboneye utumanzi
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Thank you very much. So we're now going to continue with the second part of our afternoon. And just to make sure that everyone is well adjusted, ate well, can I hear the youth for a little bit? Come on, make some noise. I know you're in there. I want you to wave the flag too, because you all have flags here. Come on, wave your flags, yes. I want to see all this movement. Beautiful, beautiful. Yes, I like that. And also the young at heart, don't feel excluded, because we all love all of you. You know, we might have the energy, but you are the brains that helped us mold us, so, take pride in that. So before we move on to our next panelists, there's a person here who has a message for you in Kinyarwanda, and they would like to share it with you. So without further ado, Honorable Member of Parliament, Mr. Monichi, please warm up the crowd.
So ndashaka ndifuza kubataramira mu gihe gito cyane mu muco wacu tugira uko dutarama ndi rutavuka n'imbunda imbere arasorerwa mudasongerwa sinsubirizwe nka kase njya mpindagara habyutse imboga imbere zinazimaze mu ruzi iyo ngambiriye umuhigo mpenga mu museke amasasu nkayasobanura nitwa munanunguye waruhingo mbone marage birandahira iyo nahize amatara matava rwibonera indawo nyirugirungu nayitsinze mu rweya mu rwerererwa kamiranzovu migamba yarwahitana hinjira inzira zombi ahajya ubugambaza imbunda yarahavugiye mushobora kuntiza amashyi ninjya gutanda y'abasubiza. Thank you. Mu Rwanda hari mu itorero ry'abahanzi abartiste bari mu itorero hari ijambo dukunda gukoresha iyo umuntu avuze ngo intore abantu bakavuga ngo ijabo riduha ijambo muraba mukoze cyane intore buhoro muri kuvuga cyane intore ndifuza ko muvuga buhoro intore aha none turagira ngo ijabo riduha intore ntiganya ishaka igisubizo intore ntiganya ndifuza gutanga ikizami ngasubira kwicara nubwo twari tugiye gutarama tukabigenera umunsi w'ejo ikizami ngiye gutanga ugitsinda ndamusayingira kano gatabo nanditse ntaraba umwanditsi nitegura kuba umwanditsi kandi nicyo nzandika maze kuba umwanditsi nzakimuha ikizami cyanjye kimeze gute baravuga mu Kinyarwanda tugira ntibavuga bavuga donc ntibavuga bavuga umuntu urabitsinda ndamuhemba nsabe na ba minister baze kumuhemba cyangwa kumushimira aha igisabo ntibakigura ariko ndashaka umuntu umwe uza kumva abishobora byose akaba ari we kandi mwe muretse ntimubivugiremo ntihagire umuntu uvugira mu gisabo turi mu muco igisabo ntibakigura nta muntu ushaka ko avuga ndabikurikiranya n'ibintu nka bino arasubiza ntibakigura ntikimeneka ntikimanikwa donc ubisubiriza rimwe ndamuhemba ntibakigura ntikimeneka ntikimanikwa ndashaka umuntu umwe ubikora so reka mpe mama tubwire nta kibazo abana bavuye i Kigali aha ni Anje uhagaze
cyambere
urabisubiriza rimwe donc ntibakigura
baragikosha
mu muhamaki ntikimeneka
kirabyara
ntikimanikwa
barakijisha
ubundi rero ababyeyi bacu bakuru ubu bashatse bagenda bagashimira Imana ababicisha kuri Bikira Mariya bakabikora bati niturenga hahingutse abanyarwanda bazima akanyuma kandi ni wowe ndaguhemba icyanyuma kireba undi cyo kirakomeye. Hari ikintu batwigishije kera bita gusodeka. Ijambo ngiye kuvuga ririmo ibintu byinshi ushobora kuvuga mu ijambo rimwe. Imbwa bayikubitiye ibuye mu ishyamba, wavuga ngo iki uvuze ijambo rimwe? Donc ku buryo utazana mu imbwa, ntuzane mu ibuye, ntuzane mu ishyamba, ntuvuge naho bayirikubitiye. Kandi ndabakopeje, niriye jambo wavuga byose ukabura bivuze. Someone here.
Imbwa. Oh, pardon, sorry. Gukabukira. No?
Uravuga kuri umuntu yumva uvuze mu imbwa, uvuze mu ibuye, uvuze mu ahantu nuko bayikubise.
Gushamburwa.
May I give the answer? Aha, waruvuze gatoya. Ntabwo bivuze byose. Wahaguruka? Madame tumusifu.
Yarakanzwe. Umusega yarakanzwe.
Reka twumve perezida wa
Yariterewemo.
50%. So imbwa bayikubitiye ibuye mu ishyamba, it's a simple word. Barariyihakubitiye. Okay. Ndasoje. Ejo. So I will sign the book after. Ejo ndashaka kubinvitinga. Tuzakora ikiganiro cyanda umunyarwanda ariko kiganjemo gutarama bya kinyarwanda. Rwose nimuzabure, wenda uzakererwa ariko azihangana ze. Ubundi bakunda kubikurikiranya ngo nimuzabure nimuzanakererwa, ariko nuzakererwa nibura azahagere. Twambariye gutsinda twararahiye umva. Morale. Umva ngo twambariye gutsinda yemwe twararahiye umva. Ngo abanyarwanda burya bose bararahiye umva. Ngo na Kagame Paul burya yararahiye umva. Morale. Ngo twambariye gutsinda yemwe twararahiye umva. Ngo na ambasada wacu burya yararahiye umva. Ngo ababajene bose burya bararahiye umva. Ngo twambariye gutsinda yemwe twararahiye umva. Wow. Ngo twararahiye umva. Ngo twararahiye umva. Tuzarwubaka. Dufite morale. Abagabo barwubake. Ababyeyi barwubake. Ona ministers barwubake. Abadepite barwubake. Canada murwubake. Umva tuzarwubaka abana b'abanyarwanda turugere nka paradizo ku isi yose we ngo diaspora murwubake twebwe twese turwubake abanyeshuri barwubake ngo abayufu murwubake. Umva tuzarwubaka abana b'abanyarwanda turugire nka paradizo ku isi yose we tuzarwubaka. Rwanda na spirit oye. oya tuvuga oye 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 Rwandan spirit oye Kagame Paul oye Kagame Paul oye u Rwanda rwacu oye reka mbabwire akantu murasobanutse
Amashini mundu. Hey. You know, so us, the come-froms, for all who didn't understand, that was a hot 16. He just killed the freestyle right there. So, you know, for all of you who didn't understand, you know, for everyone else, you've enjoyed and you know what's really going on. So now, to continue on with our panel, I'm going to call Miriam to the stage and introduce the next series of panelists, which are youth entrepreneurship success stories. So there's a lot to learn here. And please, a warm round of applause for our next panelists.
Thank you, Emile. So after this warm introduction, I think we have to keep up and stay warm. I think you agree with me. I will introduce our panelists. I will welcome first Moses Mutabaruka from TAP magazine. So please help me welcome him. Moses, welcome. Our second panelist is Rosine Uwizeye from Hotel Impala in Rwanda. She's the owner of that hotel. She will tell us more about this hotel. The third panelist is Che Rupari, partner of Neo Cafe in Rwanda. The next panelist is Sandrine Mudengendanwari. So she's from the foundation Vivo Cuore here in Montreal. And our last panelist is Albert Muhire, sorry, A. Muhire. And we have Josephine Murphy from Toronto. Welcome on stage. So as you can see, we have women, men. We're from Rwanda, so we almost have more women than men. So like Emile said, our panel is on your experience. We heard this morning more generally about youth involvement in the development of Rwanda. So now we want to hear about their story, our stories, how we can do that, how we can be involved, how we can be, you can contribute specifically to the development of our country here and in Rwanda. So we have young people living here in Canada, others are living in Rwanda. Some of them were here before and decided to go back. So without further notice, I will let each of you to introduce yourself briefly, and then we will start the discussion. Maybe we can ask with ladies first.
I'm in the hot seat. Great. My name is Josephine Wukuru, and I have my other better half over there, Jocelyn. Tidimanga Obugo. Right now, I feel like, oh, I'm 3 minutes older, you know? So it's not too bad. I'm Josephine. I'm from Toronto. I'm Rwandan and Canadian. And the reason I'm here is because I love the youth, and hopefully I am not part of the history. Not yet. Though we appreciate the history because we learn from it. There are peers. And I started an organization called the Shelter Them Batarure. And the reason is when I traveled to Rwanda after many years being in Canada, and I realized there's so many children on the street with no hope. And what I saw, it's not a dirty mayobo, it was a potential, a pilot, a doctor, and entrepreneur. And I thought, they need a chance. So what do? People ask me, so what's your business? My business is to help those to become what we want to be. So that's what I do through Batarure Shelter Them. I'm here to say we can support our people, our young people, to become entrepreneurs and the future of Rwanda. So that's what I do.
Amazing. Thank you. So we will go on with the ladies. Sandrine.
I'm Sandrine Murengerankwari. I'm also Rwandan Canadian. I'm 19, and I am CEO and founder of the Vivo CARY Foundation. And my aim is to basically operate 2 children in Rwanda that are affected by the VSD disease that I myself had when I was born. And I'm currently in college in social science and music, and I'm also in McGill Schulish School in music.
Wow. Thank you, Sandrine. So we go on with Rosine.
My name is Rosine Uwizeye. I'm also a Rwandese Canadian. I used to live in Toronto, and 3 years ago I moved back to Rwanda. I went to school in Toronto. I acquired my bachelor degree in finance. I worked in the financial industry for over 10 years. Worked for TSC, Toronto Stock Exchange, CI Mutual Funds, and Clarington Funds. Although I had a good position, it looked like there was a wall between where I wanted to be and where I was at the time. So meanwhile, I was traveling back and forth in Rwanda, and then I was looking at the development and how everything was being changed quickly. Then I'm like, I have to be part of this successful story. Came back, took a year to save, and then went back to work for myself.
Wow. This is pretty impressive. We'll go on with our men on stage. Moses, if you can start.
Murao.
Briefly.
Hello. Murao. My name is Moses Mtabaruka. First of all, can I give a shout out? Shout out to my CARY people, CARY Ottawa, CARY Toronto, CARY Montreal, and I would like to thank IRYD and Moses for inviting me. So my name is Moses Mtabaruka, and I'm the founder and CEO of TAP Magazine. TAP is the African Perspective magazine. We are the East African diaspora. We are the premier East African diaspora magazine in North America. We've just opened an office in Nairobi, and we're going to start distributing on the ground. Yeah.
Thank you, Moses. So, Che, can you introduce yourself briefly as well?
My name is Che Rupari. Please don't be surprised, too many dreads on stage. It's not a show. Because sometimes when people see dreadlocks, they always have a particular conception. Right now, I've been in Rwanda for the past 2 years. And in Rwanda, we started a coffee company called Neo, which we focus on reintroducing coffee to African. That's our model. One of the locations in Kachiru, and we have 3 other locations in Lagos, Nigeria. So we're hoping to be the next Starbucks of Africa, where when you think of Neo. So the reason I say that is because Rwanda coffee is one of the highest premium coffee, and then and people don't know about it. So I feel as part of the brand development that we'll send a great message towards to other people about Rwanda, and also show them that we can build businesses now in Rwanda and across the continent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Che. And I will ask panelists to introduce himself. Albert.
Always save the best for the last, or the last for the best. My name is Albert Muhire. I'm from Rwanda. I am an entrepreneur, businessman, an ambitious businessman, entrepreneur, immigrant here in Canada. I've been here for 9 years. I'm a husband of 1 wife. And I'm also a preacher as well. And so I own also a company called Aim Higher. So usually it's supposed to be Muhire, but because I'm having issues to explain how to pronounce Muhire, I decided to go with Muhire to make it easier, and also to make people know that I always hire. So now that's what it's all about. So it's Muhire Mobile. So when you hear about that, you hear about the convenience car wash. So it's basically, we come to your place with all the equipment and the new technology. We wash your car, whether home, commercial, like anywhere you are. So without you being se déplacer, ou bien you go to a place, we come to you. So I believe that's what we do. I think so far also I am presently a youth leader at my church as well, back in Ottawa. Yeah.
Wow. So thank you very much for your introduction. I'm very curious to know, we are very curious, I'm sure, to know how you started. Because we are living here in Canada, we are young, some more, some less. And we want to be involved, we want to start something, but how did you do that? How did you start? What was the first step? What was your challenges, your journey? Can you tell me more about this?
For me personally, the experience to go to Rwanda was more almost patriotic. I always wanted to connect to my people, learn about Rwanda. I felt very, very important because when I was here, I used to have an apparel company. We used to make hats for 15 years. Many of you have worn my products. So going to Rwanda always felt like it was an emotional journey. Even going there, I didn't have a plan to work in coffee. It was a friend of mine, very, very best friend of mine, who introduced me to coffee business. Since I had experience in retail and brand management, we started working together, talking about how can we present our product better. And so that's how part of NEO came about. So far it's been an experience. For one, there's culture shock. For me, it was in Rwanda, it was the culture shock. So sometimes when I was here, I used to think, "Ndi Umunyarwanda, ahantu hose njya bazi ko ndi Umunyarwanda, ngeze mu Rwanda nsanga ndi Umu-Canadian." Ibyo byarantunguye gato. Ariko ubu, I guess in the spirit of kuba Umunyarwanda, I think I'm getting closer. I'm very close. I'm pretty close. Generally speaking, I think the experience has been an amazing ride. If you an entrepreneur or a business, you have to expect the highs and lows. I mean, sometimes we can see the charts. Francis did a great job showing us there's certain segments where we can tap into our resources. Those should inspire to look into it, and also not to be afraid to try it, because you really don't know. This door might close today. I think the head of the diaspora said it. No, it means new opportunity. I truly believe that, because my first journey in Rwanda I had an idea of continuing my hat business, and many no's came actually, and yes was this new passion in coffee. So don't be afraid. That's the only thing I can say. Anybody else?
Thank you, Jay. Yes, Josephine, please.
For me, when I remember why I started to shelter them, is first I came to Canada, and of course, the first time I came to Canada, honestly, I thought I was in heaven. I was like, wait a minute. If it's not heaven, like the seventh heaven, I must have been in the basement of it. Because this is unbelievable. I was born in a refugee village. We had nothing. Like my sister was telling my friends that we saw electricity when we were 8 years old. 8. And so people don't realize, like, oh, you're dressed up, you're walking like you're a model, blah, blah, but you went shopping, but we were not born that way. So we had opportunities. So when I came here, it was like, wow. But then after 2 years, like, okay, whatever, it's life. You don't realize it's like wow anymore. So what made me start shelter them for me is I went back to Rwanda and I looked at it and I'm like, this is a land of opportunity and it's full of people. young children, young men and young girls who need the same opportunity. And I said, you know what, if you want to start something, there's somebody who said, if you want something, you find a way. And if you don't, you find an excuse. So I saw a need, and I had to act, and I acted. But people, unfortunately, I have a child, if my daughter comes to me and goes, Mommy, look, I draw a cat. I'm like, iwacu mu Kinyarwanda cyangwa muri Afrika umuntu arakubwira ngo ibyo se n'ibiki wakoze bagicucu ngo urabona hari amaso ariho hari amatwi se ngo amatwi se ari hehe ngo ari kurambuza umwanya wari kuri igicucu ngo gene ngo ntubona wa mwana wo kwa kanaka yuko yashushanyize umuntu abona icyo yakoze. But you just destroyed a vision and you just destroyed an action at an early stage. So to me it was like, okay, I just got to Rwanda, I'm young, but I want to help, I want to start something. But using icyo gitekerezo ku bantu, nyakubahwa perezida yari ino sinzi ko muri Rwanda Day, naravuze nti jewe nagiye mu Rwanda mfite igitekerezo rwose jewe nyakubahwa kandi mwarambonye amaboko ari hejuru narindiriye. I got the opportunity and I asked Mr. President, can I have a land in Rwanda to build homes for the kids? And obviously it's a big dream, it's a big project for me. And you know what? He did not shut me down to say, where's the eye? Where's your cat? What are you trying to do? You're wasting my time. He was like, you want it? It's simple. You talk to RDB, they'll help you. And I actually appreciate RDB because now they gave us a land. I have a land in Mubugesera. To build for the kids. Now we have, we're going to build homes, trade school to treat young people, and a welcome center, like a community center. You know what, that's a simple idea, but it needs to be supported by the peers, by our history, of our 40s. You need to tell your child, oh wow, it's a beautiful cat. Do you want to see my version? And then maybe you can put eyes and they'll be like, oh, it's good, you used your imagination. But your imagination, your vision, start from there. And then if you put it in a practical way, right now I'm gonna build homes and all these things, like, who are you? You're such a little girl. But all I need is like $700,000 US, and we can do it. So it's a big dream, but if you want it, you'll make a way. And if you don't, you'll find an excuse.
Wow. Thank you so much, Josephine. So definitely when you want something, you can do it. Everything is possible, right? I have a question for Rosine. I'm very curious to know, you spent a few years here in Canada and you went back to Rwanda. How did you use your experience, what you learned, maybe education, work experience, life experience, back in Rwanda to do what you do?
Actually, I was lucky to have been living here and acquire that experience, because it was necessary, especially right now I run a hotel business. I'm a manager. My financial background helped me a lot, doing the accounting, all that, and even the interactive, the way people live here, you go back, you try to learn, but you bring the best from here. And it helped me a lot to build the hotel. It's a small 2-star hotel, but it's growing.
Thank you, Rosine. The question is open. I want really something, it's a panel, so it's the discussion. We are not lecturing each other. We are not, it's not like a job interview, but really I want every one of you, to be at ease and, comfortable to answer the question.
Actually, I think for me, the start, I think there's a seed in each and one of us. And for me, that seed is that idea that you're afraid of, right? Because you think people are gonna say it's ridiculous. People are gonna say it's impossible. People are gonna say, wait, where are you gonna find people to do that? When are you gonna find the time? And for me, it was when I was 14, I realized how much luck I had at 4 years old, because I was affected, as I said, by VSD, which is actually a heart malformation. You have a hole, and when you're born, if that hole doesn't close up, there can lead to several complications. And so I had the luck at 4 years old to have someone actually found my operation in Kenya. And so at 14, I'd started thinking about all that progression, all that luck that I have, and that I started evaluating my life and how much blessings I have, right? How much there's nothing I had to worry about. Daddy and mommy were gonna take care of me. And I realized there's thousands of children dying every single day. In that room of operation I was in, there's probably 300 children that were dying. And I just couldn't let go of that idea. And so I think at that moment, until about 17, today I'm 19, I was just trying to see what I could do, right? What I could do to help those children. Sandrine, a little child, I'm still a child, what am I gonna do for them? And then I realized I was actually doing something since I'm 8 years old. I was playing classical piano. And I found it unfortunate that I wasn't using something that I'm capable at to provide for my community, provide for my country. And so that seed, I think everybody needs to look at it and hold the idea, dissect it, analyze it, and once you're ready, you need to take it and do something with it.
That's amazing. So, in fact, what you are saying is that we all have a talent, we all have something that we're good at, and that we should use to impact on others, because it's not only our success, right? It's the success of your community and everything. So, about that, how did do you think? I know c'est peut-être un peu prétentieux, mais comment vous pouvez mesurer l'impact de ce que vous avez réalisé sur la communauté, pas forcément rwandaise, mais sur la communauté dans le sens large et sur le pays aussi?
Well, I think that's the hardest question to ask, because I'm looking at, from our business perspective, with such a small steps that we're making, that even, I think I was talking to somebody earlier on, even to be asked to sit on a panel, I'm like, are you guys serious? I've only been in business in Rwanda for almost 2 years, but just to, when you measure the impact, it's not in a monetary value. I think it's more encouragement, because sometimes you always forget about that element. When you encourage somebody to attempt something, it does wonders to their mind. Because I remember when, not too long ago, when I left the business that we had here, people thought I was crazy. They still think I'm crazy, actually. Sometimes I think I'm crazy. But the upside has been so rewarding, where not just learning from Rwanda, even in my Canadian experience, I don't even, sometimes you can't even, I can't really explain it in a nutshell, is the energy that I encounter when you meet people from even on our shops, is the idea of doing, let's build together, let's work together, let's figure out, So I would encourage anybody who has a thought, an idea to, even if you want to speak to a crazy guy in Rwanda with dreadlocks and you want to move, I'll be free to tell you the pitfalls and certain challenges that you might face. Like I was saying before, the culture shock it's a serious thing, because sometimes you think it's something that you only experience in Canada, for instance, or when they ask you here. I remember, what's the Canadian? My mom used to get those questions. Do you have a Canadian experience? Right? Everybody who's lived in Canada has been asked that question. In Rwanda right now, I can actually ask myself, do I have the Rwandan experience? Because there are certain things that have to be readjusted, not only on language aspect, also how certain business is done on a daily basis. So I think it's important to be encouraged. It's important to work together. That's right. It's important to create that network, because earlier on, a representative from the government was saying, as a group, as a nation, you move stronger and forward. That's right. So as a community, even sitting here on stage or listening to the panelists earlier on, there was an element of encouragement. And it's that spirit. I think when you speak about youth, that spirit of encouragement is a spirit to move forward. not to stagnate. So I think we all have a role here in Canada or in Rwanda to constantly encourage the youth or anybody who's doing something to push themselves forward.
If I may add something. Yeah. I think speaking about networking, for example, I want to give you a very simple example. Like we rented a car from Toronto, 7 of us, and thank God the boys drove, so that's great. And we were just with the 2 young men, okay? And they were saying, so we're like, what do you do? And one is like, I'm, in college, university, I'm doing accounting, and the other one was doing something else. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, shout to them. Thankfully, we have an accountant. We have an amazing accountant. And how that guy came about was when I came back to Canada after being so touched by what I saw, and I just Googled international lawyer for charity. Google is awesome, right? The first guy was Eric Cohen. I'm like, hello? I really want to help out, but I want to make sure it's legal. So what do I do? He's like, oh, I'll help you. That's how I registered to shelter them. I just used my credit card and he charged $1,000 because I just needed to do something. And that came from there to networking with other people. So we need an accountant because we just cooked and it made $11,000 within 3 hours, the first week. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. People respond to you when you need encouragement, and it's great to have that support. So that young man, I was like, why don't you find somebody to volunteer? So when you're finished your college, you have something to put on the resume. You want to do that. So we're like, we can help, you can help a shelter them to do accounting work so you can have something on your resume. That's networking. Because now he's going to go home with something on his resume, and that is helping each other. And how do we measure our success? It's not how far we have gone, it's how far we can reach. And you don't compare yourself like, we've done an amazing job in Rwanda, wow, kudos to us. No, like we want to say, hey, we still have a ways to go. So we want to reach the top, and to make sure you don't step on people's toes. While you're getting there, you have to get there with honor, dignity, n'icyubahiro, nk'uko twavuze ngo twize ku babyeyi bacu. So let's do that and support each other while we're trying to reach the top, because we can do it if we want to.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Moses, do you want to add something on that?
I'm going to add something about networking. A good friend of mine, Rwandan, most of you know him, Shad, once told me, people are always willing to help you, but people are always willing to help people who help themselves. So before you come to me or before you go to someone else, go do something by yourself. Put it together and then bring it to me. Tell me, I've done A, B, C, I need you to help me with D. And then they're always going to help you. And once we get the first person to help you, so before I had the first person to believe in my idea, it was like 1 or 2 years. But once that one person came on board, and then they just opened their contacts. You need a cover. You need to have a ESC Secretary General on your cover. Okay, I know him. This is the process, and they make a phone call, and somebody helps you. So as long as you're willing to push by yourself, before you go out there and ask for other people to help you, help will always come, and your network will always build. Because once you have a product, anybody else that has a product, you can relate. That's the most beautiful thing about business. When businessmen, businesswomen meet, I have my business card. So I ask, what do you do? Oh, I'm in the hotel. I'm a publisher. I'm in the magazine. I can give you a free ad. Okay, you can come stay in my hotel when you're in Kigali. So it's so easy. Once you that is just an example. Don't expect any ad from me. So
I got you on a coffee, man.
All right. So go out there, do something, put it together, package it, and then go on Google, pick up a phone book, and call people, and people will always be there for you.
Yeah, we'll also add always the last, the best. So I will also add that as they have said, networking, I will maybe use another term which we are we use mostly it's the relationship. It's the same thing pretty much. The relationship, why? Because anything we do, either business or work or family, it's all about the relationship. We're trying to build a relationship. There's this successful businessman, Richard Branson, who the owner of Virgin. He said the best or the advice he can give for either a startup or any business is to build a relationship, because it's not about the money, it's not about anything else, but the more you have a good relationship with people or with your customer or with anything else, that's how you will connect. Even a person to come to buy any product that you may sell, and he doesn't necessarily come to you because you have a better or a great product, but because you have something that he might be different than the others. So he first of all buy to you before he buy to the product. So that's why I would add also relationship. If we work on, that's exactly what we'll be doing. The more we interact with people, the more we come to the people. That's exactly what we're building, relationship. So yeah.
Thank you.
I want to also add that the impact of moving from here to go to Rwanda, becoming self-employed, also encourages other youth, especially from here, to do so. So many of them might want to do it, but they're still scared or don't know how to start. And I believe I even now get so many calls. How did you do it? What were the challenges? How did you manage to do such and such? I believe we should get a link, like mentorship, find a way to show them give them advices and show them what to do and tell them not to be scared, because anyway, risks, we're still young, we can take them. The sky is the limit.
Thank you. Actually, Rosine, you read my mind, because my next question for you guys was exactly on that part was, do you think that we talked about networking, mentorship. This morning, Sylvie told us about Futurepreneur. It's an association, a structure that helps young people who want to be entrepreneur to start, to mentor them, to give them that network, that relationship that they can get, and then therefore avoid the challenges that some of our older brothers and sisters have been through. Do you think as Rwandan, young Rwandan, we can have, maybe create that structure? We can maybe, les impliquer aussi les associations qui existent ici au Canada et au Rwanda pour créer justement cette structure, so that if I live here in Montreal, I want to start something tomorrow, I'll be inspired by your stories, but I don't know exactly how to start. What will be the first step? I can go back to IRYD maybe and ask, for your contacts, but then it will be our relationship, just the two of us. But what about something bigger? Do you think we can maybe start something from here?
I think the first step I usually say is, for a startup, the easiest thing to do is to start. The key part is starting. And sometimes you shouldn't be afraid to create partnership with other people. I was introduced to coffee with a very good friend of mine who we lived together in Toronto for many years. So I didn't come up with the whole concept to say, hey, today I'm going to get into a coffee. I was introduced to it, I loved it, and now we're starting this journey. So my suggestion would be, you don't have to create a big group network. You can create small working groups, or even 2 people, 3 people. You can plan together, because sometimes 2 heads are better than 1, right? Today I might be afraid, tomorrow it might be your partner. So I would encourage people to start thinking, like everybody's saying here, as a group in a network way. Some people work better together than others. So on a bigger scale, then you start with the smaller ones, and then those smaller ones can meet later and discuss what they have come up with. But as a huge network of entrepreneurs, I think sometimes I find it very difficult historically, because I've seen that happen in Toronto, I'm sure the same pitfalls of businesses will hinder the progress. I think start small groups, working groups, and go from there.
Yeah, but I also think that we need, it's imperative that we build organizations and we build associations and mentorship channels. Because, for example, when I started my business in Ottawa, I looked around, there was no any Rwandan doing business. I looked in Montreal. At the time, I didn't know Emmanuel. So I found out about Emmanuel like 2 years after. And Emmanuel cannot mentor every Rwanda, 40% of Rwandan youth. So we need to build, and also when you're starting out, you need models. It's not an accident that the sons and daughters of soccer players become soccer players. The sons and daughters of presidents, businessmen, lawyers, end up going to that into those fields. So as a community, as a society, we need to establish links like that if we want people to be encouraged and empowered to become entrepreneurs. Because sometimes you have an idea and just in your head you're like, oh, this is too big. How could I ever do this? But if somebody is sitting down in Ottawa, in Kigali, or in Montreal, and they have an idea like, oh, I know Che, I can call him up and ask him, how did you register? How did you go into coffee business? So now if ever want to go into coffee business, I know him. So we need to really put things like that together. Yeah.
I would say also, maybe let me give it up to Futurepreneur. Actually, they also helped me a lot when I started my business. So basically, I had an idea, or let me just say the benefits for those who do not know, but who wish to be involved also, so they can help them. So I had an idea, but I needed also some funds to start with. And this is one of the challenges that we have, like, okay, I have an idea, I need some money, where can I find it? And really big it up to Futurepreneur, because they helped me in terms of, they gave me some conditions, and those conditions helped me how? Because they say, okay, you need this kind of money, they have to actually give you a limit depending on your, how many years, like the age you have, and then there's like, okay, we give you these conditions. So one of the conditions was to create a business plan. So business, you know, when sometimes some people who just have an idea, I just want to go into business, I don't care about the business plan. It helps somehow because they tells you in the future, they give you some little details that you may miss. So they gave me that challenge. So I wanted money, so if I want that money, I have to lay out all those business plans, which I did. So that's one of the benefits of it. And then after that, I reclaimed, when everything was good, okay, as I expected to receive money, I was so excited. And then I go, no, we gotta give you a mentor as well. And a mentor is really important in the business. As you said, as we have said, first of all, create the relationship, and at the same time, they give you a tools that they've been there. They're gonna bring you, so we learn from the best. So they're like, okay, so how am I gonna, I didn't want a mentor. You know, sometimes you'll be like, oh, it's too much, I don't want a mentor. You were gonna tell me what to do, what not to do. And it helps as well. That's also one of the benefits. So it is one of the conditions for you to be able, so they give you a Futurepreneur, which will help you within those 2 years. They walk with you, you meet with him, you talk with him, they teach you what the things to go through. So I think it's something that we can learn from them to create that, so they can be if I will say, because I believe it's an organization which helps a young entrepreneur. So they have structures, they have rules, they have everything is well set up, so that everybody who wants to be either founded or helped, they can receive benefit from it. So I believe it will be a great thing, a great tool. Yeah.
Do you mind if I just add one thing? Diaspora, for example, we have the president of Diaspora, and we're talking about the whole Canada. And they're going beyond and just having one diaspora who's on top, who oversees the rest of the provinces of Canada. Those are Karapapa, and then you go to CARY, and then you go to other levels of commitments with what we do. And I think we do have good foundation with all the leaders. Right, so we have all the help we can get, but if we can get that diaspora that oversees everyone, and everyone slowly goes step down to the person who wants to start something, who do I talk to? And I think that will help us to know what to do if we have an initiative. So I think they are available. We just have to make sure we connect the dots and we know who to talk to when we want to do something. And just one more thing, I thought I was writing my notes until like 4 o'clock in the morning because I intend to just want to get to the point, is even though we are doing great, we want to advance, we want to be entrepreneurs and all that stuff, I think I wrote 2 points. We have like 2 enemies that I have to mention before we finish this discussion, is 1, time. Time is one of the biggest enemy of Africa. And we no longer set up appointments ngo tuzahura mu gishanga munsi y'igiti izuba ri hafi kurenga. Come on, like youth, we don't say that anymore. Turavuga ngo tuzahura kuri 30 John Street at 3 o'clock. Hanyuma wahagera ugasanga nta muntu uhari. Kandi uwo muntu niwe ushaka ko possibly investing in your business. How am I going to take serious what you are doing if you don't respect it? So time and WZU African time, aren't you sick of it, young people? Come on. Turabizi ko twebwe hariho nko kumugara bya kera ariko se ntaga turabakera ntitwavuze ngo turabubu twanabise ngo naba history. You know? Ntago twabasuzuye ariko really, can we just say enough and be on time?
Okay. Yes, because we have to open to Q&A session. Eh?
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other one, the last one, is early childhood development. Our youth, you're going to get married, right? You will, hopefully. If you don't, you're too busy and you're married to your job, that's fine. And if you get married and you have children, Sibyo, let your child come to you with their imagination, their vision. Don't kill that at an early stage. Kandi ntukareke ngo abana bawe wabyaye barerwe n'abakozi. Invest in them, take time.
Thank you for those words. I have just one last question before we open the question to the public. My last question would be, what would you do differently if you could go back to step 1 of your business? Something maybe you learned in the process, during the process, that you now thinking of when you started, maybe you would have done differently. That could inspire maybe those who will start more.
Myself, I think the only thing I'll do differently is I should have gone sooner. Like, it took me too long to realize that, you know, there is much opportunities in Rwanda than in here. But other than that, so far so good.
Well, I think when you do business, I think there's a lot of things that can rewind, but it'll be too long of a line to go through. But I would say, I don't know actually. I think so far the experience that I've gone through have shaped the way I am, and sometimes I'm okay with that. There might be like a little rough edges sometimes, but I think I'm okay with that. But the most important thing that we can learn, personally, I see, is that the Rwanda government has a motto of entrepreneurship: do for self, create for yourself. So automatically you have a set of examples. So if you want to get to A to B, there are certain steps you have to do, but you have to make the first step. So that's the way I view entrepreneurship. Maybe I could say I could have taken those lessons before in my previous businesses, right? So maybe that's the thing I can apply. But I would say we have a good example of a go-getter entrepreneurship kind of mindset that you need to initiate things in order for things to change. So, yeah.
Okay, great.
I think
Moses, yes?
If I could go back, I would have started much more earlier because most of my best ideas are already taken. And then once I started, if I could go back, I would invest more in tools. Sometimes we think we can do it all. and we don't surround ourselves. That's the entrepreneurship biggest, I have found anyways, biggest mistake. We don't invest. We try to go cheap, buy cheap hosting, buy where some funding is needed. Funding plays a big part of it. But so it's always strong. It would be good to build strong from the beginning. Because in my business, I got at some point where we had like 3 million visitors on the site, and it couldn't handle it anymore. So we had to like go back and kind of rethink the whole thing. And then you get a lot of, so you have to build, if you have 10 people that come to your shop today, make sure you can serve 10 people. In the next week, 20 people. So you have to adjust your tools with the business that you're running. That way you don't have to make a big step backwards.
Thank you, Moses.
Yeah.
Yes, Albert.
Yeah, I would say for me, I take that as an opportunity to learn. Like if there was something that I should have done differently. Personally, this is me personally, I think that everything turns to good for those who love God. So for me, everything that is either a mistake, it could be for me a lesson. So as people say, what doesn't kill you make you stronger. So that's how I became stronger. So that's what made me who I am. So I take that as a way of learning. As they say, there is no always failure, but there is a lesson. It was a lesson instead of being either a curse or anything else. Yeah.
And adding to that, actually, I know we touched base on time, and being, I think I'm still very young, right? Sometimes, and we have to admit this, I'm gonna be the first one to admit it, we don't invest our time properly all the time, right? And I think we need to reevaluate what you spend your time doing. And if I had the guts to start earlier what I'm doing right now, I would probably have invested my time doing some other things. I'm not saying I'm always doing, wrong things, but maybe I could have taken much more time on reflecting on how I could make an impact on the young community much more, right? Or maybe I could have reflected on how, okay, what are your goals after having that foundation? Great, you're gonna operate children, and then after what? So I think, yes, thinking about time and taking a step back. We tend to be in a society where we're always running, and that's great because you learn how to multitask, but you need to take a step back if you don't want things to go beyond what you're capable of doing, right? So I think, yeah, that's something I would have thought of.
Est-ce que quelqu'un voulait apporter un autre point?
I would go back a bit. I think sometimes, Mutabaruka said it before, when you do entrepreneurship or business, you got to be willing to accept failures. Sure. Because there's no ready-made formula that the way you see it, you visualize, or your business plan, it's going to come out that way. Mm-hmm. But if it doesn't come out that way, you have to be willing to adjust. And then I think that's what he's saying, like the failure part, it's an adjustment to a particular situation. So my suggestion would be constantly remind yourself that life has it's a journey, right? So certain times you get up in the morning, you have so many plans that you're gonna do, and then you probably do 2 things, and another day you do 20, right? It's just because certain steps that you take allow you to realize certain priorities that you need to do. So I would think to the youth, be hard on yourself, but don't be too hard on yourself. Because the problem that we have sometimes is like we continuously preach. Say, don't do this, don't do that, go up, stand up, sit down. Sometimes you have to let the person figure out when to stand up, when to sit down, and then they'll discover if they're tired, they're gonna sit down, right? So I think that's the way I apply the theory of entrepreneurship. Is like I'll push the envelope till I'm not sure if I'm going that way. Sometimes I have to step back and go forward again. But it's one of those, it's part of a life experience. And growing up in the Rwandan community here in Canada, we have problems in our community. We have problems with youth violence, drug issues. We have those problems. We have problems with people who've been institutionalized in the system. So how do we solve those problems, right? Without just saying, you're a bad kid, you're doing wrong, you're doing this, you're doing that, right? How do you correct that, right? You have to step back and say, hey, maybe sometimes solution is look to your country, send them to Uncle Che, I don't know, but door is open. So, but it's one of those things that you have to really consider, that as a community, as a people, as a country, there's certain situations that we need to look into that doesn't, the perspective will not only be business, right?
Balance.
We're the business should be a business of people and the product after. You know, so I think that's the thing we have to remind ourselves.
So before we take few questions from the public, what we can say is actually that we should dream big.
Pardon me?
That we should dream big. We should, we as young Rwandan, we should be aware of our full potential, to see all the opportunities, that we can always do something. Il y a rien on va jamais faire mal. There's always a way to do something, and it's always a good way because you learn from it. Donc à partir de là, on pourrait prendre peut-être 3-4 questions du public, either in French, Kinyarwanda, or English. I will ask the protocol to help me with the microphone, please.
I know, it's my coffee.
Bonjour, bonsoir. I'm a friend of Rwanda. So I'm not from Rwanda, but I'm a friend of Rwanda. And I'm from Burundi. And I've been sitting here and listening to you, to all of you, and also listening to what the panel earlier this morning, afternoon. And I was compelled to just say a couple words because I just wanted to say that, I want to praise the Rwandan community and the Rwandan youth here in Canada. I want to also praise the Rwandan government and officials that are here for supporting and investing in their youth. I know some of you are probably sitting there thinking that maybe Burundians or the Burundian youth shouldn't be thinking of business right now, and that's true. But I think this is still a good time for us to learn and take everything we can from you guys and learn. So I just wanted to praise you and of course invite you all once everything is settled politically to expand your businesses in Burundi. Thank you.
Thank you. There's maybe, yes, a question this way.
Mine is not a question, rather it's a story that was not told. Whereas so many people drawn going to Europe, we have so many African youth finding opportunities in Rwanda. So many African youth work like Che and others who came from Canada. They're having opportunities in Rwanda. It's only the other day that I visited his shop with some visitors who wanted to see how Rwanda is doing, especially with youth from diaspora and others. I wish I knew before the composition of the panels. I could have invited South Africans, youth who are very successful in Rwanda, Kenyans, youth from Kenya, who are doing excellent job in Rwanda. The doors are open to all African youth. Instead of going to the north, they are running to Rwanda and they are doing very well, thank you.
Does anyone have a specific question maybe to one of the panelists?
Can I add on to what?
Oh yes, maybe.
Can I add on to Mr.
Yes.
Kumbura just said?
Yes, go ahead.
About the opportunities, because a couple of them, our partners are Nigerians actually. We have a few shops, a couple shops in Lagos. So the idea of saying that there is opportunities, he's not lying. It's not because he's a member of parliament that he's saying this. It's true. No, it's true. You walk around a couple, where we work, there's an incubator where there's companies young companies from South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Nigeria, and Kenya, who are coming up with different applications. And I'm sure here there's people who have created application, and you probably don't even know. There's my brother there, Justin. He's a big entrepreneur, this brother right here, and nobody probably doesn't know. So I think we should even highlight some of these young guys and young women who are doing big things in our community. So, and know about them. Because sometimes it's quick to point to, Mr. So-and-so instead of, Mr. Mutabaruka, or, it's very quick. It's because the reason I'm saying that is very important I'll go back to the idea of encouraging. It's important to highlight the good before the bad. It's very important. I think that's the only, thing I can think of that it's wise that I can say is like encourage each other.
Thank you, Che. So we will take the question.
Graciano ndakubana ndumujene umyaka 30 ishize. Aho ndikandakira nabyumva ko mwadufasha. Ariko ndagira ngo nshimire abantu bose banyuze hano baduhaye ibitekerezo n'abaduhaye ka animation, abadusuye cyane cyane bavuye i Kigali. Nk'abanyarwanda dukunze kuvuga ibintu byiza twakoze, kandi ibintu byiza bavuze hano ni ukuri. Ngenda mu Rwanda kenshi kuva muri 2004 narabibona, ni ibintu byiza cyane. Ariko none dufite nk'abanyarwanda intege nke mu kureba challenge dufite, noneho tuzibwirane imbona nkubone tudateranya amaboko. Iyo ni defimaye urubyiruko. How do we solve our problems without fighting each other peacefully? Hari uburyo butatu ababimenyereye bavuga bwo gukemura impagarara. Power fighting, kurasa na boom boom ingufu. Icya kabiri, law fighting, kajya mu nkiko kamufungisha. Icya gatatu ni interest reconciliation. Kubibona kuriya, nkabibona kuriya, urabona twabigenza gute kugira ngo dukemure iki kibazo. Iyo challenge urubyiruko muzi byabaye nabyutse muri za 55, nabonye byinshi mbere y'abantu benshi muri hano, ariko ndagira ngo mugende mufite iyo challenge muvuga muti we can solve our problems without killing each other. Can you do it? Yes, you can. Icya kabiri ndiburangirizeho. Ushaka wese yatanga komenti, ariko wa mugabo wa IRYD Francis nimba nta kibazo kare ariko twabuze iki. Mu Rwanda muri kuduhamagara kandi ni byiza, hari ndetse n'ababikoze tugire dukore business hariya mu Rwanda. Birakwiye kandi biratunganye, ni byiza kandi bimagakiza. Ariko hari utuntu tumwe na tumwe tw'udutego ngira ngo mube mwadukemurira. Ndahera kuri duke cyane kuko igihe tuzemera kubwizanya kuri challenge imbere y'undi, hari byinshi tuzatondorora umurongo tugire nk'ijana, ariko byose tukekure. Ndagira ngo rero duhere kuri aka karimo tubiri tw'ubusabusa. Abakora iby'amafaranga barabisobanuye kundusha, ngende muri electricité, ariko abazi iby'amafaranga iyo ugiye kwinvestisa akenshi ukoresha amabanki. Wajya muri banki hari taux d'intérêt bagusaba, hari n'igihe cyo kwishyura. Mu Rwanda aho mbiherukira rate yabo yari 17%, ukishyura mu myaka 5. Ibyo bintu ntabwo ari abantu benshi babishoboye. kuko bisaba gutanga amafaranga menshi ku kwezi ariko none habonetse uburyo nkamwe cyane cyane jeune mugahinga uburyo twagira rate zimanuye tukagira n'uburyo twakwestanginga ya myaka aho kwishyura ku myaka 5 kwishyura kuri 25-30. Wow! Then we do business.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup, Mumbabarire. If we can take 2 last questions, we can go back to the panelists. Thank you.
Maze rero mugende mudukemurire utwo tuntu twa rates of interest, mudukemurire imyaka yo kwishyura, maze ngurebe ngo amafaranga arisuka, maze ngurebe ngo n'utaje muri iyi nama araza kwinvestisa. Murakoze.
Alors j'aimerais, si le protocole peut peut-être passer la parole à 2 jeunes. On va prendre 2 dernières questions des jeunes avant que les membres du panel puissent réagir sur les différentes interventions. Et puis on va pouvoir terminer cette partie du programme. Merci beaucoup. Je vous demanderai d'être bref dans vos questions pour laisser le temps aux panélistes de répondre, s'il vous plaît. Merci.
My name is Amaris Mahololisa, and I have had all your experiences. And you know, I'm like, if I came here with maybe my mind was black, I'm not supposed to go when my mind is still black, but it has to be white, right? So I had your experiences, and I'm like, I'm willing to do something. I mean, I have this for the sponsor child, and I'm like, if I'm only don't want to sponsor child, but I want to be a part of the organization. Well, how do I have to have experiences? Do I have to pay something? Because I think I'm so blessed and I want to share my blessings, you know. Things are good when they're shared. And I think I really have something to share. So I was a breast kid, and I really think I have to breast some kids too. And I think if we all came here, it's because we have like reasons why, you know. So we can't just go back like the way we came. So I think with their experiences, we can do something like Rwandans wanna lift up their Rwandan country, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Amarilis. So we'll take a last question, please.
Okay, ndavuga make cyane kuko ukuri yavuze menshi. Yabagita butoyi. Mumbabarire ko tuvuze turi babiri, ariko ndashaka guha courage abantu bari hano. Bavuze ibintu bya networking no gukorana, to work together. Rero ndashaka kuba courage. Abafite magazine, abafite hoteli, abafite cafe, deja ubwo muri kumwe muri batatu mwakora ikintu kinini. Siko mwabivuze. Rero reka tuve mu majambo ngo ariko abanyarwanda ngo dufatanye dukorane. Reka bive mu gukorana, have action please. Because speaking without a words, it's in vain. So, mwebwe ufata magazine ukashyira kuri hoteli ya Rosine twiganye mu Rwanda hose. Rosine tiweho ufata magazine ushyira hariya ugenda connection cafe ushyire kuri hoteli. Bukuru dufite organisation. Hari ama pamphlet uyashyire kuri hoteli yawe nuriya abazungu n'abandi bose baje bati ibi nibiki tujye kubasura se baze babone imirimo dukora bagere tugiye gufasha abantu. Hanyuma nawe rero abajene muraha deja abadukuriye muri abashumba beza ko you are a good shepherd. Twarabakurikiye and you are good. Ariko abajene, please don't ever be discouraged. Bukuru na butoyi twavuye ahantu mu bana 10 nta kintu twari dufite, ariko ufite umutima ndashaka gukora iki kintu gikore buhoro buhoro witonze n'icyubahiro, ibintu bizakoreka. Kandi ibyo bahaye ni ibyo. Reka tuve mu majambo, reka dufatanye ngo kandi dukorane, make it an action, then miracle will happen.
That's true. Thank you very much for this very deep and very strong statement.
So
yes, last question, Diane, please.
My sister. No, that's so true.
Please, can we have the microphone on that side of the room, please.
Hello? Okay, hi, can you hear me?
Hi.
So my name is Diane. I have two questions for the panelists over there. Sorry, I have to write it down. I have a pregnancy brain. So.
Can't hear you.
So you all talk about like the high, the low from all your experience and like from your vision and everything. So for the youth, what would you say would be your biggest lesson from your failure? And also, what do you tell yourself to keep pushing and keep going when you face a wall?
So before you answer all these questions and remarks and statements, just to let you know that we have only very, very few minutes left. So if we can maybe summarize or answer in 5 minutes, 7 minutes maximum, that would be great. Thank you.
I think there was a question specifically asked to me, so let's start from that one. From the beautiful lady over there. She was holding our pamphlet and she said, well, I have been so blessed, I have so much and I have to share. That is like, I just love you. I do, because somebody who says that I have so much, really, if you define how much, what does it mean being rich? It's very relative, isn't it? It's like saying that like, I'm hot or cold. I could be freezing wearing a jacket and somebody else is like sweating. So being rich and poor, it's really more like being content and appreciating where you're at. So I think she appreciates where she's at, she wants to help. So she wants to know how she can get involved, maybe sponsor a child or be involved with my organization. And I said, you know what, honey, if you have a website and my phone number, just give me a call. And then you can just, this organization is mine just as much as yours. Because we're sharing blessings, that's all. That's what we're doing. So you can work, you can go to Rwanda, visit the kids, visit the women, and share food, talk to the children, and just be part of it. That's as simple as that. Just like, you know, who's gonna put their coffee to the hotel, who's gonna use the hotel for the, what? It's just as simple. Let's just put it in a practical way, and it's just simple as that. So I'm available if you wanna work with me, you are welcome.
So to answer Diane's question there, first of all, Diane is like a hero of mine. I think she's 6, 7 month or 8 month pregnant, but she's volunteering here today, the whole day. She ran a marathon last weekend to raise money. So it's really somebody that inspires me to kind of keep pushing. So how do you recover from failure? I started my first business when I was like 8, selling sugarcane and cigarettes on the street. I made like $200. This is like in the middle of nowhere in Congo. And I've had a lot of failures throughout that time. And really, you have to, I've made a pledge that when I'm no longer here, when I'm no longer around, that my kids will inherit something from me. Most of us, the way our education system is set up is that you go to school and get a job. But if you have a job and I have a business, and this is like the worst scenario ever, and we are driving and we get into an accident, and so both of us are no longer there. If you are making $500,000 or 1 million, and I was around and making 200,000 with my business, her family, that income is gone because like her kid cannot go to her job and say, oh, my mom was here making I want that salary. But if I'm no longer there, my business is passed on to my family. That's how wealth is passed on to the next generation. So that is my mission. You cannot fail, and you have to pass on something bigger to the next generation.
Thank you, Moses. That was. We will finish on that last word. We have one question, one intervention here in the front from our distinguished invitee. Thank you. Microphone, please.
Sorry, ntabwo mbaza ikibazo, ndasubiza rudakubana ku bintu bibiri. About conflict, cyangwa ku makimbirane no kuvugisha ukuri yavugaga, namusabaga n'abandi ko ejo azaba ari ahangaha tukabiganira noneho tuvugisha ukuri. So please rudakubana uzaze ubwire n'abandi tuvugisha ukuri ku Rwanda n'abanyarwanda. And I promise you, tuzabivuga na bya bindi mutinya kuvuga byose, na bya bindi muvuga mwihishe muri ahantu byose tuzabisase tubishyire kuri kapeti, tuva ahangaha tubaye abanyarwanda. Icya kabiri yavugaga kuri interest rate n'imyaka. U Rwanda ushobora kuvuga ngo mu myaka 21 ishize ntirwabagaho, rwarapfuye rurazuka. Muri uko kuzuka ruri mu rugendo. From 1994 to 1998, 2000, even getting a loan was not easy. Uyu munsi ushobora kubona bank ubonamwo loan. We started like 5 years. We improved to 10 years. Today we are 15 years. There is improvement. Hari bank ushobora kubona loan y'imyaka 15. I'm sure by 2017 tuzaba tugeze kuri 20 years. So turi mu rugendo. Kandi urugendo rwiza ntabwo dusubira inyuma, turajya imbere. Navuga byinshi kandi umwanya washize, reka tuzavugana ejo. Murakoze.
Thank you very much. So I want you to help me thank all our panelists today for their inspiring stories, success stories. Like they said, this is not the end, this is just the beginning. So please, let's keep connect, let's keep build our partnership, and I'm sure we will go further together. Thank you very much.
Yes, please. Another warm round of applause for our panelists. You know? Because right now I was hearing people over 40 is history. No, history is getting a bad name today. Like someone said in the room, but I need to clarify. These people you've seen sitting here, they're your children. So this is not just history. It's guidance you've provided through the years, and this is the result. So give yourselves a hand. Now that I've heard from the young at heart, the youth, where are you? I can't hear you right now. Is that it? Is really what it was? Come on. Youth, where are you? Can I please hear from you? Beautiful, beautiful. The delightful panelists are still getting ready. So I would ask our honorable member of parliament to please and warm up the crowd again, if you so please. Oh. Yes, please. Okay, give him a hand. Encourage him. Come on. He flew from Rwanda just for you. Make some noise. Could we have a microphone, please?
Rwanda itajengwa na nani vijana. Oh, Kigali itajengwa na nani vijana. Ngo sisi wenyewe. Ona sisi wenyewe. Ngo sisi wenyewe. Mukomeza ayo mashyi twumve. Oya muri iyo njyana gutyo cyane. Mukomeze. Ngo twambariye gutsinda twararahiye umva. Ngo twambariye gutsinda twararahiye umva. Ngo twambariye gutsinda yemwe twararahiye umva. Ngo mwambarire gutsinda kandi twararahiye umva. Amashyi yonyine cyane. Erega aya mashyi nimwaherukaga ntabwo ari amakanada. Aha. Turugire nka paradizo ku isi yose we tuzarwubaka tuzarwubaka. Murakoze.
All right, now that we're all back into it, we have a little tonic. I would like to welcome to the stage Achille Warijoro, who will lead the next panel about how we did it. Achille, please come to the stage. And welcome.
Right, hello everyone, small technical problem. I'm an engineer, so I had to have a technical issue. No? Is that better? Yeah. Okay. So again, being an engineer, I had to have a technical problem. So, so really happy to introduce this panel, how we did it. But before I start, I just want to say I've been in Canada for 25 years, and I mean I'm so full of pride seeing what the young people of Rwanda are showing to Canada and to the world. So guys. All right, I see Samuel is relaxed, but he should be with the other. And Egid as well, if you're not there, we also need you on the stage. So I'm going to start by introducing Larry Markowitz. I hope I pronounced the name right. So Larry is the first Vice President, Lord Reading Law Society, and he's an entrepreneur, lawyer at Redpath Holdings. So Larry is a lawyer and entrepreneur who teams up with owner-operators to help them grow their business. He serves as a trusted advisor, an active investor through his company, Redpath Holdings. Larry is also currently developing business opportunities in real estate, medical product distribution, and the financing of clean energy, among other projects that he does. He's a past winner of the Priorities Award for Young Professional of the Year. He was also awarded the Lexpert Zenith Award for Corporate and Law Firm Social Responsibility for pro bono legal work with Kulam, a charity focusing on Africa. And more specifically, on development projects in Rwanda and Ethiopia, and he has a few things to say about that. You want to?
You asked me to check where exactly the village is
Yes.
that we helped. We helped build a school in Agahozo in the eastern province near Lake Mugesera. So, thank you. Anyone from Eastern Province here? Big hand.
Who's from Eastern Province? Who's from Eastern Province? Okay.
They're all sitting over there. Oh, one over there.
All right.
Awesome.
So just lastly, Larry has also started a course on business law at McGill University and has lectured at the law faculty of the University of Ottawa. So welcome,
Thank
Larry.
you.
Have a chair. Our next guest, Dr. Winston Chan, G20 Young Entrepreneur Alliance of Canada, Junior Sherpa-elect for the Canadian delegation at the 2015 G20 Young Entrepreneurs Alliance Summit. So Winston is an entrepreneur and owns a health clinic in Montreal since 2004. He is the Junior Sherpa-elect for the Canadian delegation at the 2015 G20 Young Entrepreneurs Alliance Summit. He is a member of the G20 B20 Task Force on Employment. He represented Canada at the G20 Young Entrepreneurs Summit in Australia in 2014 and in Russia in 2013. He was the president of the board of the Federation of Young Chambers of Commerce in Quebec from 2011 to 2013. And in 2012, he was named by the Journal Les Affaires top 25 under 40 in Quebec. So welcome, Winston. Our next guest, Dr. Egide Karuranga. So Egide, he's associate professor at Laval University in Canada. In the past, he was a visiting professor at ICN School of Business in France, Tecnológico de Monterrey, Mexico. He also was assistant professor at Virginia State University School of Business. So welcome, Egide. And our last but not least of our guests is Samuel Kirubi. So you've known him as the managing director of Equity Bank of Rwanda, and they did a great job yesterday hosting us. So Samuel holds a master's degree in business administration and finance from Moore University, and the bachelor's of arts degree in economics and statistics from Egerton University. Since joining Equity Bank in 2001, so Samuel has gained vast experience in operations, marketing, and customer service. Also, Samuel was previously the Chief Operating Officer in Equity Bank's South Sudan. So welcome, Sam. So our topic is about how they did it. So the premise of this is obviously that they're successful people, right? So we'll keep it simple. I'm going to ask them, each one of them, is if you were talking to your younger self 25 years ago, what would you say, what would you tell your younger self in terms of how you got where you are today? We usually remember what we did wrong, but it's harder to remember what we did right. And so try to give us a perspective on that, and then link it with this young generation of Rwandans and friends of Rwanda that are want to emulate what you guys have achieved so far. By the way, this is not the history panel, but we'll try to make history. So we'll start with our guests, Larry.
So what's the title of this panel again?
How we did it.
How we did it. I was intrigued. I'm not sure what I did, but let's pretend I did something. It's been said by a pioneer at Silicon Valley, the best way to predict the future is to invent it. And that's a message that I think will serve as a theme of everything that I'm going to add this evening or this afternoon. You should, of course, try to follow your passion, and it's very easy to say that. What is your passion? It could be something that you really enjoy from school, could be a hobby of yours, could be a sport you enjoy playing, and that leads you to be in the zone, the kind of activity where you don't even realize the time is passing. Now, if you could start a business using that passion, you're way ahead of everyone else. Now, entrepreneurship is really a great form of creativity. So what is creativity? Creativity is a combination of imagination, your idea, plus execution. So imagination doesn't necessarily mean that lightning is going to strike and all of a sudden you're going to have this wonderful idea. Many of the most successful entrepreneurial ideas were just a question of combining two unrelated concepts into a new one. Steve Jobs did not invent the tablet, but he perfected it. He took inventions that already existed, sort of the touch screen and all that, and combined it with his knowledge and appreciation for design and functionality. Richard Branson didn't invent the airline, but he gave it his own flavor by using his Virgin way of doing things and applying it to the airline industry, just as an example. So that's the imagination part. The other part is execution. Execution means working hard, of course, and all that kind of stuff, but you also need to take advantage of the opportunities that are given to you. As young entrepreneurs based in Canada, you have a lot of programs, and I imagine Winston will talk about this, a lot of programs to help fund young entrepreneurs and mentor them. As Rwandans, you have connections in that country, and you heard earlier today about some of the programs available to you. You should take advantage of these opportunities. In addition, the world is flat, as Thomas Friedman has said. You have the power of the internet. You could leverage that power to turn any business from a local business, quickly scale it up into an international business. So you need to take advantage of that in executing your projects. So these are basically the concepts. Entrepreneurship is a form of creativity. Creativity equals imagination plus execution. And I look forward to discussing more of this as we move along.
Thank you, Larry. It's funny you talk about the world is flat. A few years ago when President Kagame was here in Montreal, I actually offered him this book. I gave him this very same book, The World is Flat, and I encourage everyone who's interested by technology to buy that book and read, to get to know a bit more about what technology can do to change the world. So thank you for your input. So our next guest, Winston, maybe we'll, if you can talk also about...
well, actually, there's three things I would tell myself if it was 20 years ago. The first thing is I would start a business when I was in school, and learn from the failures from it, because most people in most countries the tolerance to failure is pretty low. So we have to learn to fail and able to get up from it. So if I want to start, I will start my business while I was in school. This is when I don't have nothing to lose. When you're in school, you don't have a family, you don't have a high quality job. You just want to learn, and starting a business is the best way to learn. It's the best school you can have. The second thing is I would travel more. I realize the last 20 years the world getting smaller. We really live right now in a global village. People are getting the culture. Everybody with the internet, we get to know more culture, different cultures around the world. So I would travel and would experience, learn a different culture, and how to just to see the world from another perspective. And then the third one will be my parents are Chinese, so I'm a son of an immigrant. And the first time I went to China was when I was 30 years old. So I would go earlier and to connect with the country of my parents, and have what we call the Asian perspective. And as we know right now, the center of gravity of the economy is towards Asia right now, and that's how I would do it if 20 years ago, if I knew what I knew right now.
Actually, it's a very good point. I was in Asia. I told you I was in Shanghai last year. I was in Asia for 3 years. And I would encourage our future entrepreneurs to think about the East in terms of where they want to look. Because we can sell to the Chinese. We can export to the Chinese. It's not just buying from the Chinese. There's things that we can sell to them. So our friends from China also are looking for opportunities in Africa. So there could be a two-way win-win situation. So thank you, Winston, for your input. So I'm going to ask Samuel to tell about your background and how you did it.
Thank you. It's amazing and interesting sitting and listening to the various panelists. And I picked one or two items that we should be able to pick from this forum today, which is a very good forum when we are addressing the youth and talking about entrepreneurship. And I would sit and say, single one thing out about purpose. I've listened to most of you, I've listened to how the startups went by, and you cannot avoid to see at the core of it is an issue of purposeful life and establishing a purpose, because a sustainable business model is built around a purpose. And a purpose which is not money, but money becomes the vehicle to drive you to the purpose. And if I was to just give a single piece of advice, I would wish our young people to establish a purpose, and a purpose in which they would live for, and then turn it loud into entrepreneurship, and then commoditize that purpose that can then bring income. And very interestingly, around me, the previous panelist, there was one of the gentlemen who was here, who is, I think, a pastor in a church. And I want to draw that purpose back to the Bible for those who believe in the Bible. And you find in Genesis, when God made man, and the purpose was about humanity. If you look at Genesis, when God sent Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, I think the bigger mandate was to make the world a better place like Eden. And you find that asking about entrepreneurship is about coming with solution to humanity, or making about humanity more sustainable. And then that can be a long-lasting purpose where you can build an entrepreneurial activity and commoditize, as I said, and make it business. That is a key thing.
Thank you. And actually, that's a very good point in terms of the purpose, the vision. We know the country has a Vision 2020, but personally, I've established a vision for my own work. I'm in project management, for those of you that don't know me. And I know my strength is having people working together from diverse contexts, cultures, disciplines, and then making them perform better together as if they were working alone. And that's been my driving motto for my own purpose. So that's my purpose, and I think it's good to each and everyone have a purpose. So I'll ask our last guest, who is Rwandan, Ejid, to tell us about how he got here.
I got here? You called me. So now, I don't know myself why I'm here tonight, because I've been listening to wonderful stories about entrepreneurship, and then all of a sudden they call somebody from the classroom. So this, but I'm not that, President Museveni, who is outspoken on so many issues, once said that he is not a classroom general. So I'm not a classroom professor. So I used to do business before coming to the academia. So if you ask me to tell you how I used to sell the mandazi on the market in Gafunzo, I would love to discuss with young generation how to make money so that you can buy shoes from your own pocket, from your own money. And I would like to discuss with young generation how I used to, I was about to say to smuggle, I was trading. I'm moving cargo from the Congo illegally and smuggling to Rwanda in order to pay for school fees for my brothers and the sisters who were left behind in Rwanda. I would love to discuss with you how I used to move cargo from Hong Kong, Singapore to Rwanda, and making sure that when I opened my own business in Kigali, I was posted in Dubai, Middle East, and then I used to shift from Dubai to Bahrain when the immigration process was over in Dubai, then come back to Dubai and keep replenishing my store in Kigali so that people feel that I have money. I didn't have money, so I was just doing inventory replenishment. But I left all that world and then moved to the School of Business where I'm teaching business. So if you want me to talk about business schools and how entrepreneurship, for example, is part of the research I'm doing, and it was really amazing to listen to people and experience. But I think there are some small missing points when we start a business, when we create, then we are now in the classroom. When we are starting a business, when we have the intention to start a business, there are three key factors. One is personal attitude. And so many people address the attitude part of it. The minister, honorable minister, mentioned it. But there are two additional components which you have to pay attention to. The second component is what we call the behavior control, the perceived behavior control. You have to be in charge, in control. You have to feel, you have to own your business. You have to make sure that you understand everything. You are equipped, you are skilled enough to make you succeed. Component number three, which was often forgotten, is people touched it a little bit, that what we call subjective norms. What does the society think of what I'm going to do? Am I getting enough support from my family, my network, everything? But all that is very important if you add all the determinants before moving to the personal attitude, before increasing your personal perceived behavior control of the situation, before moving to what society think and support you. There are antecedents, there are networks, there are people, there is education, there is mentoring, there are the people you talk to. And then, again, from a classroom perspective, we have what we call the resources. Of course, it takes some resources. But the resource-based view is being exhausted because in the beginning, people used to think that the resources are scarce, and some of them are inimitable. You can't copy and paste. But today, you have access to finance. One is providing credit for 15 years. What is lacking is this kind of gathering, the kind of conversation we're having tonight, what we call dynamic capabilities. The dynamic capabilities are factors which help organizations, government, companies to increase their competitive advantage. What do you have in plus? What do I enjoy which Honorable Rukumbura doesn't have if you move to business? What does Rwanda have to show to the rest of the world? And then, most critically, you remember I told you I used to send mandazi, I lived in refugee camps as a refugee, I was a houseboy, what we call houseboy in Africa. And even after 1994, I was a truck driver from Mombasa to Kigali. And my story is, fortunately, similar to hundreds and thousands of stories of Rwandans. So when we talk of resilience, especially from the current, if you read, for example, the work of the journey of His Excellency the President, somebody who is in the United States decides to leave the comfort of this part of the world and goes back home to fight for freedom. So that level of resilience, that level of Rwandan resilience is probably what is behind the miracles. And that's what scholars need to find. And that's what people probably should insist on while we are talking to young generations so that they can be successful but build upon our culture of resilience. And I'm so sorry I will end with this for the first part. The cultural issue was raised by one or two speakers today. I don't want to fall into the trap of promoting myself because, the American culture, the North American culture, when they asked me to come to this panel, I was about to refuse because how you did it implies that you tell people how successful you are. And we are not used to that in public. But I'm talking to an Afro-American audience, and at the same time, I'm taking the opportunity to raise the differences in culture because we know how Obama makes it, we know who is inside the White House, we don't know how Angela Merkel, I don't know if she's married, I don't know if, so the kind of public speaking, how you made it, how you discuss this, it's also cultural. So tonight, I'm so sorry, I'll be using my personal experience, and it's probably cultural sensitive.
I'm going to change it around a bit, So let's pretend that all of you are 25 years younger. So you've heard where Rwanda is today, right? So let's be concrete, What would you do today if you were 25 years younger with the Rwanda that you know, the Africa that you know, concretely? What would you do? What are the opportunities that you would seize on? And how could that, and I think that could be useful, and we can have some interaction with some of the audience. So maybe starting off with you, Samuel, the banker. You know what's going on. You know what is the situation on the ground. Let's give some concrete examples of what could be interesting to start as 25 years younger Samuel.
Thank you. And let me pick it up from where I left about moving from a purpose and what one of the panelists said about execution and about a set of mind and a belief that we have what it takes to do it and to make it. And somebody here said about the best time to start what you are thinking about is today. It's not about tomorrow. Don't regret about what you never did yesterday. Is to do it today. When you try that in itself, of course, after planning and having done your logistics, what I've realized in life is that success in itself has an inward motivation that will make you move mountains and conquer. And that focus in itself can make you go far. And I'll give you about a very simple case. And I'll not talk about it because that's where I work. I work in Equity Bank. But just to give you of about a homegrown solution of a bank that is around 30 years old, started in 1982. And the reason I'm giving you this is to see how local solutions and local institutions can become international through scaling it up. Equity Bank was a very young institution and just about farmers who used to do credit, microfinance in a rural village in Kenya. But and for around 10 years, it couldn't sustain itself and had all the challenges that the young banks have. And upon change of management, change of leadership at some time, and change of thinking, at around the year 2000 and 2001, the bank changed into a fully commercial bank. And I remember when I joined the bank, that was around 1997, the asset base of the bank that time was roughly $5 million. But within what you'd call like 20 years from then, the asset base of the bank now is $6 billion. It's a bank that is in 6 African countries. It's a bank that has got now 10 million clients, the biggest bank in Africa now with 10 million clients, just from a homegrown institution. And as I said, I don't want to go to the details of the bank, but I just want to use that as an example that it doesn't matter where you start an idea, but you can grow it, you can scale it up, and be a reference in the whole world of what can be done different. Right now, as I talk, we are the bank with the best model of agency banking, talking about changing lives in the rural village. Offering financial solution is a very affordable way. In the rural village where you can't do brick and mortar, it wouldn't make sense to have a bank and pay the management and pay rent and all that. But establishing a model called agency banking, where a small shop can become banks. You can go open an account, do insurance, you can send money from here to your mom in a very deep rural village through the shop. That in itself has revolutionized banking in the whole of the East African region. And that's the mentality I would like to encourage the young entrepreneurs, that it doesn't matter how the idea is, but if it has a purpose, and that's one of the reasons why I've been with Equity Bank for the last 17 years. I get that question all over. How can you stick with an employer for 17 years? But we got shares in the bank. That was like 15 years ago. So we work for ourselves and we work for a purpose. And I want to translate that again, as I said to the entrepreneurs, that if you have that purpose, if you scale it up, if you answer to the needs of humanity, it will be a sustainable business model. And I say this because where I sit, I find so many people coming, entrepreneurs who come and say, you know, I want to do this, I want to make this money. And after 1 year or 2 years, they find they have made so much money, and you still find them asking, so what next? What next? Something is still not answered. And there's one lady here who said, made $11,000, and it was, so what next? You make 20,000, you make $1 million, you make 10 million, but then you still have not answered the little bit of life about changing humanity and about answering to certain needs.
Okay, thank you very much.
So, Larry, you're 25 years younger.
Two topics come to mind, and you just mentioned, and before another speaker mentioned, just start doing things. Don't just think about it and over-plan. I would recommend reading and looking into the lean startup method. You don't need to have millions of dollars to test out your idea. Perhaps if it's a bank, then you might, but for most startups...
What's the book, sorry? What's the book?
The Lean Startup by Eric Ries, R-I-E-S.
Okay.
And it's even, they call it a movement, that people have ideas and you try to have the minimum viable product. You set up the minimum you need to set up to test out your concept with a test market, see how it goes, build it up. As you build it up, you might get some outside investors in, and that's a good way to replace planning and planning and planning with action while you're planning. So that was one thing that comes to mind from your comments. To address your question of what this audience should do, what I would do if I were 25 years younger, or even my age now, I don't think it really makes a difference. I'll be around for a lot longer, so
that's good.
There's no problem. I would address this audience in particular, maybe it doesn't apply to me as much, but you, for the most part, have unique knowledge of Canada and a unique knowledge of Rwanda. And to be able to translate between those two markets, not just linguistically, but also culturally, you know what Rwanda needs, and you also know what Canada needs. And there are probably ideas you could import from one to the other in either direction. And I just want to plant that idea in your mind when you're coming up with your ideas for entrepreneurial activities that you want to get going with.
Okay. Yes, then, you wanna?
So we're talking about a lot about banking. Access to finance is one of the main challenges that the young entrepreneurs live anywhere in the world, especially in what we need right now in many countries is an ecosystem for entrepreneurs to be able to flourish. It's like a plant. A plant needs sun, it needs water, it needs air, needs proper soil. Something for entrepreneur. We say it takes a village to raise a children. Well, it takes a good country, a good culture to raise entrepreneurs. So, and what are the components that we need for a proper ecosystem is, first of all, access to capital, support, mentorship for young entrepreneurs, proper cultural entrepreneurship culture in the schools. It starts in the education. The other thing that's very important is also in terms of tax and regulation adapted for young entrepreneurs. That's easy for them to start a company. So these are the ingredients that you need. So my message for the young Rwandans that are in Canada also is that they can start a business here in Canada. We have a very good ecosystem. I think that we also have, for example, an organization like Futurepreneur that gives loans and gives mentorship to young people. And the other thing is one of the main challenge also for different ethnic communities, young people here in Canada, is to access to finance. Also, most of them have their finance through what we call love money. So they have it from families, from friends to start a business. But they also, I recommend them to see in the different organizations that offer support, financial support. So that's the most important thing. And the second thing is right now, the world getting more and more smaller. So it's what we call international networking. So be part of international networks, like for example, the G20 Young Entrepreneurs. It's the best way able to see what's happening in other culture in terms of best practice, in terms of entrepreneurship. And I think that also the community here, the networking, the peer-to-peer networking is so important. We need to stick together in the community, but also do networking with outside the community. And that helps also to flourish entrepreneurship for young people here. And last and not least, the diaspora here is also the best way to bring a bridge, like Larry says, between Rwanda and Canada. That's the best way to have economic prosperity, is to able to bring investors from here, entrepreneurs from here to Rwanda. That's how countries flourish. I think that's the best way to do. And as a young, myself, if I see my role as a young entrepreneur in the Chinese community, I see my role helping between China and Canada. I think we do the same with the young Rwandans here in Canada. So we can there'll be the bridge makers between Rwanda and Canada, and it will make a big difference. And you can put this as a life mission to help have a better strained relations between both countries.
Okay, thank you, Winston. Gide. The question is 25 years back or 25 years when I was 25?
I've given you more
Which
here.
is roughly the same area, yeah.
25 years ago. But in any case, it's more in terms of what advice you would give
If
the
they were
young people
25,
today, knowing what we know.
First, I would visit Rwanda regularly, because whenever you visit Rwanda, it's full of opportunities. Ukugezeyo buri gihe, if you take agriculture, you take ICT, you take anything you touch in Rwanda, in emerging market in general, the growth is there, the potential is there. Because if you come from Canada, if you are from Canada and you try the local adaptation of a Canadian solution to the Rwandan market, that pays off a lot. Abantu bakora muri ICT, ba Justin barabizi mubegere, amafaranga arahari hariya, abantu bakora muri agriculture amafaranga arahari, abantu bakora muri transport barahari, volcanics. And the Canadian diaspora is doing well, by the way. Nuko abatarajyayo nuko muri kubwirwa story zo mutazi, aba mwabonye hano ni bakeya, hari abandi benshi bari muri transport nasanzeyo, hari abantu ba France ko Edmonton bafite utubari tugenda neza cyane, hari abantu bafite za restaurant, abantu bafite iki, ahubwo muri mu gukererwa. Ariko ikindi business, if you ask me my opinion, nta sector mbi ibaho, biterwa wowe abarokora babo mu muhamagaro icyo wumva ukunze, kuko nta kintu kiza nko gukora icyo ukunda. Ahantu ukunda ntabwo uzabura icyo ukunda mu Rwanda n'icyo kiza cyaho. Uzagenda niba ukunda ibyo bya transport uzajya muri transport, niba ukunda ibya banking harimo opportunities nyinshi muri banking, muri financial service. Baberetse 55% y'abanyarwanda ntabwo baragera kuri financial service. Bavuzanye Rwanda Stock Exchange, harimo akazi k'abakurutiye hano nk'uko tubita. Muri bank hari abakurutiye immobilier n'abari barahari, mushobora kubikora, mushobora kugena process ko zikora hano. Muri mining harimo opportunities ziteye ubwoba. We actually sell a lot of products to Chile, zo muri mining from Canada, so you can market the same product. Nkabira bintu byo gucukura itini bitabagoye, bakohereza urutambi hasi kure cyane. Hano dufite technology iteye ubwoba, ariko ntabwo hari ibijyanyeyo nako kanya. Ikintu wanyamo cyose ufata n'ibintu byoroshye, ubu kandi wanyu mwasanga mufite amasambu ntuza agriculture mu Rwanda bakoze research tuvuge fata kunuza nshya ibigori bishya, insina, fata insina nshya. Iwacu ni mu Gisaka reka mbabwire iby'insina. Insina fiya barakubwira ngo fiya gutera fiya ni $1.1 kandi narabibaze giye buriya ndumuko naburi wa kera. Siya uyiteza insina $1.1 nyuma y'umwaka igitoki kikaburi $6,000 tuvana $8. Na investment namwe uzabona muri Canada ushyiramo $1.1 ngo nyuma y'amezi 12 ngo ubonye $8-10 kandi ugasanga iwanyu mufite amasambu yibereye aho ngaho.
So to translate for our friends who don't understand Kinyarwanda, basically there's too many opportunities in Rwanda. What are you doing?
So what are we doing here?
Yeah, get
so
going.
I use the example of banana tree. The cost accounting when you are planting a banana tree is $1.5. And after 12 months, the return on investment is, you sell the banana for $10. And it keeps generating every year, two additional banana. The banana tree, I know what it is. You know a banana tree?
Yeah.
Okay.
You get at the grocery store.
And most of us have small land, 1 hectare, 2 hectares back home. And we, of course, amafaranga tuyamuhira no akayajyana ariko dushobora no kuyagenerating hari.
So now's the time to plant seeds.
Yeah, speaking of seeds, when I was in Asia, I met this entrepreneur from Shanghai. And one thing he told me that was really eye-opening is for him, because he was in the agribusiness, he says, Africa is going to be the food basket of the world. And this is a great opportunity for Africans, obviously, but also for the sort of the new triangular commerce, right? Canada, Africa, and I would say Asia. So, and you talked about networking, Winston, so I wanted to touch a bit on that. So typically people don't succeed alone. You have mentors, you have networks, in Asia, there's the Guangxi, So can you guys talk a bit about that aspect of your success, in terms of, did you have mentors? How did you build your network? What kind of network, how did that work? Starting off with Samuel.
Thank you. And maybe before just talking on the mentors, allow me to mention on what the last panelists have said about the opportunities in Rwanda. And I want to say this because there was a question about even interest rates. And again, as I said, business is about solutions to needs. So I'm sure Rwanda has more needs than Canada, meaning Rwanda then has more opportunities than Canada. So if you are looking for opportunities to invest, to develop your seed, your entrepreneurial seed, Rwanda is the destination. And I want to say this because of one thing that I had not mentioned about the environment. And the CEO of RDB was here, the honorable ministers are here, and all of them are talking about the enabling environment, because more often than not is where you have the idea, where you have the purpose in you, where you have the need, but then there is no enabling environment to help you groom this. And that is what Rwanda has provided. I'm talking this from a Rwandan perspective, from a friend of Rwanda, from investment in Rwanda, and I can testify and tell you the enabling environment is nothing short of what was said here. So you'd be very right to do that. But also, help that environment by sending back the savings that you have, because somebody raised about the issue of interest rates, and I want to say we have a very sound financial sector and financial market in Rwanda. It's the best in the whole of East African region. We've managed inflation. The GDP growth is the best. You saw 8%. In actual sense, the interest rates are the lowest. In Rwanda, on foreign currency, we're at around 8%. And you can help bring this lower, because what we are doing as banks back home is that we are borrowing from international banks. We have a trading line, maybe $100 million, $200 million from Canada, from Europe, from the East. But when you look at the diaspora that is here, maybe all your savings could be almost $50 million or $100 million. So we are still borrowing your money to help development project back home. So you are making that credit expensive. We come here as Equity Bank, and we have two of my staff here, and all banks in Rwanda are now giving you opportunities to send back money home. You can save back money home. We can give you cards, credit cards, debit cards, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, where you can still use your money here as you want, and we can still give you investment opportunities. So that's one of the things that is happening. But going back to mentorship, and which is the greatest art. In actual sense, I read one of the books on John Monroe, and it was describing about Christianity and how Christianity has grown after Jesus left, how many years and how many disciples he had, and the followers who are there now. And one of the very successful aspects of entrepreneurship is about structures, is about mentorship, and is about scaling up. And if you ask me as a person, one of the greatest mentor I have is my group president, who is Dr. James Mwangi. He won the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the World last year, but won, because of bringing sustainable models that help bridge financial intermediation in the African continent by allowing financial deepening sector to go deeper to the rural areas. It's a solution that we are very proud of. And over and above that, one of the key figures I like is His Excellency President Paul Kagame. And one of the things I like about His Excellency is the execution. Because you can be good in strategy, you can be good in your good ideas, you can have capital, but I can tell you, very few people have the discipline to execute. have this discipline to remain resilient in your execution journey so that you can see the end. And that's where we miss. That's why you find people starting ideas, but all of a sudden then you can't sustain that up and down, which will be there. But when you remain focused, then you're able to do that. And that's one of the strengths we have in Rwanda, about the strength of execution. So if you ask me, I'm inspired so much, and every day I follow him on Twitter, I follow him on Facebook, because you find a leader, I don't know, God bless him, where he gets that extra power. It doesn't matter how it is, but we must deliver. Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel. Larry?
Networking is very important. I would say that every business opportunity I've gotten is because of my network. We're also very fortunate in this day and age that we could have a network that extends internationally. 2 weeks ago, I was speaking at a lawyers' conference in London, and there were people there from 60 different countries. And not that I met all of them, but I met a good number of them. And these are opportunities that we didn't used to have. Jet travel is simple. With the internet, I could follow them on LinkedIn, email them, as easily as I could email someone across the room. And so I've built up this international network, which frankly I'd like to use more and more. Actually, I was in Paris in May, and you were also building your international network there. We were both there at the same time. So yeah. You have two international networkers here. When you're networking, whether internationally or locally, try not to be the kind of networker who's like throwing business cards like you're dealing poker. You should at least have a few second conversation with the person before you exchange business cards. Nothing wrong with exchanging business cards. And don't go in with the attitude of, what can you do for me? It's probably better to go in with the attitude, well, first of all, I want to meet someone interesting, and second of all, what can I do for you? And if you help people out, perhaps using your international network and putting them together with people in other countries or whatever it is, or even if someone needs a plumber, I'm in real estate and people call me, they say, I need a good plumber. So I have one, I make a referral,
I actually need one. I will talk later.
We'll talk offline, yeah. I don't want to give too much free advertising to the plumber. So you should go in with more of a giving attitude and not a taking attitude. At the end of the day, it'll come back to you in some way, and at the very least, you'll meet some interesting people. So that should be your attitude with networking. Connected with that, I would say, is personal branding. So I mentioned your LinkedIn profile, let's say. It should give a professional image. It should explain what it is that you do in life so that people get a good first impression. So always keep that in mind. Again, I keep going back to the internet, but people are going to Google you, so make sure that nothing bad turns out. Now you're all going to Google me. But I checked before, nothing bad is there.
What about mentor? What about mentoring? Mentors?
Mentoring. It's good to have a mentor. You mentioned my resume briefly. I practiced law in a couple of law firms for about 15 years, and I found that the most successful lawyers usually ended up working for a mentor-like figure and sometimes took over their practice. That's a good way to do it. But so that's one form of mentorship. Another form of mentorship is to find someone in a totally unrelated field, but who you can meet with for lunch every so often, just to pick their brain. And maybe if they're totally unrelated to you in business or personally, they won't see your questions as being self-serving. It's just like, we're having lunch. It's like, oh, I have this problem. How would you deal with it? More exchanging of information. So, but it's good to have mentors. I'm not sure I've done such a good job at finding my own, but it's still not too late.
Okay, thank you. Winston?
Well, mentoring is a key. We did a study at the G20 Young Entrepreneurs. We said we shouldn't finance a young entrepreneur if we don't give them a mentor. So financing and mentoring should go together. On my part, mentoring has been very important for me. I got some mentors in my profession, and I got also outside my field. That's very important, like Larry says. So it helps you to avoid some mistake you could have done, especially for young entrepreneurs. And there was a survey about that, said that they need more support, more more coaching, more mentoring. That's a very important in the equation for young entrepreneurs. And as for networking, there's a study that says that the 10 persons that you hang out with the most will determine your revenue, your success, and your social status. So it's very important that you hang out with the right people, with the best people, if you want. Yeah.
If that's what you're.
So and networking is, like Larry says, is very important to be genuine, to be sincere, to ask what you can do for them and not what they can do for you. That's the most important. And the other thing is to engage, to be involved in your community, and to be involved in different boards. That's the best way to start to build a network. So you want to be, there's two types of networkers. There's the one where it's like you're more like a farmer, where you plant seeds. You want to your network to grow, or you can be like a hunter. You just go after people and chase after clients. So my recommendation is think long term. Think of networking as a long term and build your network. It takes time and takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of time, but you have to think long term in that sense.
Okay, thank you, Winston.
So yeah, it takes mentors, because one of the words we often heard this morning and this afternoon was inspire. Who inspired you? So if you ask, my personal case, I became a university professor not by accident, but I was inspired by people who did it before me. I know Joseph didn't come today, but two Rwandans. One was a professor in Canada at the University of Montreal, and the second one was late Professor Kimenyi in University of California. Now, how did they? I don't know him personally. It's not because his wife, the ambassador, is here. It's simply by reading the papers. He appeared in one of the journals in Africa. Ndareba ngasanga umuntu yafite izina ry'umunyarwanda, yari afite afuru nziza cyane, bavuga ngo ni university professor muri US. What is it possible? Then that the dreams comes from those contacts, those mentorship. Ndangije, I was blessed to have to attend a conference at Méridien slightly after genocide, 2 or 3 years after genocide. Umuntu witwa Joseph Mugomoko muzi, he was still very young professor, very dynamic. Umuntu uvuga Igifaransa neza, kibwira n'abantu bavuga nti akavuga ngo yigisha muri university muri Canada. That was the click. Ariko the click was even there before. Muri turangiza kwiga baravuga ngo ufite amanota menshi, ngo noneho ngo ba assistant ngo ba assistant ariko twabaga mu mahanga, noneho ngo bamara kuba assistant noneho ngo bakaza kohereza kwiga i Burayi. So kwiga i Burayi mbura 0.4 yo kugira ngo ube bakufate muzabe ngo mwasisita ngo uje kwiga i Burayi. What? Kubura 0.4 birandya bikagenda bindya. Noneho ngiye kubona mbona habona umuntu ngo Kimenyi Alexandre ngo yigisha ngo US, navuga ahantu nzajyayo tu. Ndangije mbonye Josias ndavuga ni karabaye. So mentorship, inspiring, and role models. Take any opportunity to talk to people. Just make sure that you understand what they did and how they did it. And don't let anybody steal your dreams. Bavuze ngo parents, all generation of lion, dukunda kudiscussing no kugira dreams. Actually, dreams are shaped. Dreams are not static; they are dynamic. So make sure that you talk to right people, positive environment. Come and listen. Don't stay away from nini. Opportunities ziri mu Rwanda. Now coming back to opportunities ziri mu Rwanda. Then twarondogora kuko whatever you touch, as a university professor in strategic management, whatever you touch in Rwanda it's profitable. Return on investment muri wajya mu fishery, abantu bafata container, ikintu kimeze nka container, bagatereka mu miyaga, amafi agakura ukavanamo ukagurisha ukigendera. Abazungu bakava muri Amerika bakagenda bakabikora nako twicaye ngaho. One. So two, ibintu bavuze ngo bya collaboration muri diaspora twisuzume turi uko turi inyuma kuri byandi mu Nyarwanda no kuri collaboration ujya mu Rwanda ugasanga abantu bikize hamwe bubaka isoko rya Kigali, abantu bikize hamwe bubaka Gakiriro, abantu bikize hamwe bubaka wonders, miracles. They are doing miracles. Twebwe avuga ngo kwishyira hamwe biracyari ikibazo. Ariko the good news is tonight we have a meeting with Equity Bank, because those who Manuel Mwayonimana yaradufashije kera kiri president wa Diaspora Montreal, dukora nkiri muri Diaspora dukora twise ngo investment forum. We started discussing how to put together resources and make an investment. Now I'm glad to tell you tonight that we are starting aho kugira ngo dutangire muri Canada, we decide to start in Rwanda. We are starting in Rwanda, we have the plot, we have the shareholders, we have everything. We are discussing tonight with Equity Bank how to go forward. Today, diaspora 73 dufite project ya $8 million. So ubwo rero nibitunanira muzahebera urwaje ariko icyo nabonye cyo i Rwanda barabishoboye baradusize kabisa natwe muri amigo abazakora imihigo ejo muzarebe ukuntu na collaboration tuyigira a key issue in our community. So make sure that we reach the economies of scales which it takes to compete in the global economy, because you won't be able to build any business in Rwanda. Of course, I'm not talking of the small business in agriculture. That one, you should do it next, when you go to Rwanda in December, uzagende urebe ibitunguru ibiki. We have a Canadian doing well ku kiyaga kitwa Cyohoha. Afite ibitunguru azavanamo amadolari 1,000. And I visit the site, and I know I know how to calculate. So make sure that you don't miss the train of Israel. Barimo kugenda muri TGV, it's a high-speed train.
Okay, so just to summarize quickly, because I see you were perplexed.
I was summarizing this. You know what, I'm trying to energize this. So the collaboration issue, so that we can reach the economies of scale.
Yeah.
So because Rwanda is far advanced on that issue, because there are so many people who put together resources that they are building big malls, supermarket, factories. So the diaspora is lagging behind.
Good, and I don't know so much about Rwanda, so maybe I shouldn't even say this, but I will. Can you deal with countries nearby, have economies of scale in that way? Obviously, not with...
Deal with countries?
Yeah, or with the region.
The region, yes.
Yeah, it's already happening.
That's what I'm promoting. Your businesses don't have to be limited just to Rwanda.
Yeah, and I think this is what was being talked about. Is now people are looking at a market of 140 million, no longer at just the market of Rwanda. So this is, but I think to Ejid's point, the aspect of collaboration among the diaspora, you know, today the African diaspora technically is a very powerful unit when you look at the numbers, but in terms of the actual output, it's not there yet, versus how people are self-organized back home. And so there is work to do on that front in terms of organizing the diaspora. So before we move into questions, because we wanted it to be interactive, it's the last panel. So I think we're ready to take questions. If there are any questions, please feel free, unless the panelists have one last word that they want to say in terms of how they got where they are today.
That could be another topic. If you want to make it to Canada, it's not only entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. The message was centered around the entrepreneurship issue. But you can do better in this society. You can go to the army, you can go to politics. Actually, we have a problem with you guys, the young generation. I strongly encourage you to embrace any career, any opportunity in this country, because there are a lot of opportunities in politics, in business, in entrepreneurship, even here.
Yeah.
In the academia, we are doing well. So if anybody wants to join the academia, I'm ready to play the mentorship. But don't let anybody steal from you your dreams, and keep remembering that dreams are dynamic and not static, and we can shape them.
But there are many forms of entrepreneurship too. You can be an entrepreneur within an organization. So I talked a little bit about following your passion, and I focused it on entrepreneurship, but you know, maybe your passion is to work at the Royal Bank of Canada, but you can be an entrepreneur within the Royal Bank of Canada. You know, the people who end up becoming chief executive of that bank, they were quite entrepreneurial. They didn't just, you know, I'm just doing my duty, I follow the rules, I go home at 5 o'clock. Those guys are not, or women are not going to make it to the top. But if you want to be an entrepreneur within an organization, within government, you could take on leadership positions there too. You don't have to, you know, build an app and put it on people's iPhones. That's just one way to do it.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so thank you, panel. One last word, Samuel?
I think maybe just one last one is what the last but one speaker just said about the East African community now is a big market of 140 million. So as you think about investing in Rwanda, don't just think about the boundary of Rwanda, but you think about serving the whole East African community. talk even about the eastern side of Congo. It's more than even 140 million population. And lovely to see this, and congratulations for the team that organized this. I was just saying before we came here that I would love to see now a more East African community where I even come here and maybe invite Uganda, invite Tanzania, invite all the market, and we can be a bigger market. Back at home, there is so much on coalition. You've seen the projects that the East African community is doing together, the IRYD Northern Corridor, and all that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we're ready to take questions. Feel free to ask any question, not necessarily the topic about this panel. So go ahead, the floor is yours. Any questions? Everyone is tired? No questions?
Or comments.
Oh, comments, yes. Welcome as well.
People are tired.
Go ahead, Garcia.
Yeah, I'd like to have much more. I don't mean some comments, much more comments from the banking gentlemen. Because Africa, we say, is developing as a global market, but still, it's a kind of speech. There is a number of things we're doing, like railways from Kigali to Dar es Salaam, or from Kigali to Nairobi, something like that. But aiming at something more global, I mean, a road from Nairobi to Kinshasa, for example, from South Africa to Egypt, things like that. We should do that. We should dream that. There is no reason I can drive from Boston to Los Angeles, and I can drive from Nairobi to Lagos. I'd like to have many more comments from you gentlemen. Thank you very much.
I think if you allow, I'll comment and say that huge opportunities arise, maybe in infrastructure, maybe in mining, maybe in agriculture. And just like what I had commented, is that now you have a population of 140 million. You've seen now we have a railway line all the way from Kigali up to Mombasa. We are doing the pipeline all the way again from Mombasa, serving Uganda, serving Sudan, after the oil discovery. And as I said, the banking sector is more sound now. There is more capital. There are more trading lines. Just to give you an example of even what Honorable said before, is that maybe even in Rwanda, in the last like 10 years, you wouldn't have gotten a banking sector financing a project of $10 million. But now, I can tell you, we have 16 banks. We can finance projects almost up to $300 million project, single-handedly, without even a syndication in a big way. If banks syndicate, we can almost go up to 500. So capital is available. Bring your ideas. As I said, we need your assistance, and that's why we are here as a bank, just to come and give you incentives that connect back home, save back home. Those savings will assist us. Invest back home. Like I was speaking with one of my brother here, the returns are even higher. Why should we pay the bank's return on this side? Why can't you take the returns yourself? Because when we borrow from banks around, yes, we pay 3%, 4%, 5%, but that's the much you can be paying in your saving, in your investing there. Just shifting who receives the dividends. So, but we can discuss even further after this. I'm available, but there are huge opportunities. Thank you.
There's a question there. Claude?
Hello. First of all, I just want to thank you, the Rwandese community, that expand the invitation to not Rwandese only. So my name is Jean-Claude, and I'm from Burundi. I just want to highlight something here. First of all, one person talked about what is happening in China. I should say to my friends, to my youth, that the next part of the world where you're going to have really grow, it's Africa. You have to own it. It's there for you. So one question for the panel. Do you think we should, maybe we're talking about more Rwanda here, but do you think it's a good idea to have a kind of a project where we have from here, Burundian, Rwandese, or Tanzania going together and put something as a project? Is it something, do you feel as something maybe we can extend as well here? That's a question, if you see. Maybe it's more for the person from Equity. Is it something that you see the young here should maybe go together and put something together as ideas where they can build something both in Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, etc.?
What kind of projects do you have in mind?
Any. So I'm trying to see if there is some synergy there that you feel that could come from having people. I'm thinking, for example, I see here people in computer. Can I make something that's not only going to impact Rwanda, but at the same time Tanzania and Burundi, something in that area?
Okay. Anyone want to take that on? Samuel? Or, yeah, go ahead.
I think I'll briefly answer that and say, still going back to the comment I made earlier, that you don't have to do projects together, but as you design the project, the physical boundaries are no longer your market boundaries. Your market boundaries are more. And the CEO of RDB talked about the prime economic zone, where you can do manufacturing, benefit from all the incentives, and then you can distribute now to the 140 million on the east, and maybe even to another 20, 30, 40 million to the west. That's the kind of relationship that we are having back home on the East African community. And you can get all these incentives. Non-tariff barriers. I mean, you talk about investing in Rwanda and serving the western part of Uganda. So that's the kind of mentality that I would like maybe you to go with, that the market is wider. And we are now even connecting the east and the west through Rwanda. And we are seeing a lot of intra-Africa trade now. Rwanda trading with Congo, Rwanda trading with Kenya, Rwanda trading with Nigeria. You can still export from Rwanda to Nigeria. Communication is no longer a big deal now. We have like 3 flights or 5 flights a week, cargo flights. So you can feed that side with, talk about beef. I know of people who are doing big projects, who are exporting beef to Brazzaville from Rwanda. It's happening. So those physical barriers are no longer there. Thank you.
Anyone want to add something? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, and then we'll have a Gide after.
Again, from an outsider, but it strikes me that Rwanda is part of the French-speaking world and the English-speaking world, so that might be another way to break down barriers. If there's something that you would export from Rwanda to the French world, well, English is pretty common in general, but language is, you have a huge advantage in that you speak these 2 very common languages that cover most of the planet.
Okay.
So there's, I've been involved in this again and again since we started the Rwandan Diaspora of Canada, and investment is one of the issues we discuss a lot. So my 2 tips are, one, the government, and we have been advocating for this, the government should probably put in place a kind of organization to make sure that we tap into this 25% of Rwandan GDP is from the diaspora owns, the equivalent of 25% of the GDP of Rwanda. And we should probably try to put in place a kind of framework where we discuss how to mobilize those resources. That's from the government perspective, that's a wish. But from ourselves, basics in strategic management is you do, if you are an investor, you have your main activities investing in something. But you need supporting services. So the possibility, the opportunities which are now in East African countries need supporting services for us as diaspora to step in. You see what I mean? We don't have investment banking as defined as the way they run in Canada. We don't have investment banking. If we had investment banking, which is an opportunity as well, we could probably have a list of projects and then just plug and play, and then we invest the money. Now, from diaspora, especially to younger generation, there are huge opportunities to start that kind of brokerage companies which would play the role of supporting services. I need to invest in agriculture. Who is going to do the feasibility study for me? Who is going to watch my business? I need to have land and I'm planting sugar cane. Who is going to make sure that he's doing marketing for me while I'm in Toronto? I'm here in Montreal. Who is going to take care of it? So we need to make sure that we invest in supporting services so that the main activities could run. And all that, if we could embed all those wishes into a strategic framework from the government, we're able to say, okay, fine. The same way we have the tourism board, the same way we have RDB, the same way we have a directorate or a body which is in charge of mobilizing the 25% of Rwandan GDP, which is owned by people who live outside. But the government will probably take time, but let's act ourselves and make sure that we present to Equity Bank feasible projects. And we have a company on the ground. We have so many talented people. The lady who was here, she has a degree in finance. We have people in marketing. We have people in all areas. We have all it takes to succeed and to put in place service supporting companies for diaspora investment. And then you have the stock exchange opportunity, which is a new investment opportunity in Africa. I love the idea from the Burundi friends who say that, he said that we could put together resources as East Africans living in North America. But it takes reliable projects, and it takes a bank to promote it. It takes somebody to list that stuff on the stock exchange so that we can buy shares as diaspora. The same way Indians did it. The same way Israel is doing it. The same way Ethiopians, our friends, Ethiopians financed the hydroelectric dam with diaspora bonds. See, there are so many ways of packaging it so that everybody navigate within a win-win situation.
Okay, thank you. Any other? Eliane, and then I see a lady also. So we'll start with Eliane. Okay, 1, 2, and 3.
I'm going to consider all of you a mastermind group that we can all tap into, especially the youth entrepreneurs. And what I find often when I teach leadership is that the fear of failure, the fear of loss, and facing naysayers is often a huge block. And so for all the young entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurs at heart who are young in heart, could you talk about a personal experience where you either faced a naysayer, fear of loss, or a fear of failure, and how you overcame it so that they can take that nugget with them as they execute the wonderful business plans that will get financed and help us transform and network and bring peace through economic partnerships in Africa? Thank you.
Okay. Anyone want to take on that question? So how do you attack naysayers? You know, basically people who say no, and then you say new opportunity. So how do you how do you address that? Anyone want to take that on? Go ahead.
Well, you have to learn. I learned to myself learn to able to face rejection, and when people say no, it's no means next opportunity. So you say next, and it's like it's a bit like you're in a fire in a house. There's a fire. Then you knock on doors, and in each doors you said there's a fire in the hotel. You have to leave, but if you don't understand, you just go to the next door and tell to other people there's a fire in the house, and it's up to them. It's their loss if they don't accept your offer or your proposal. My sense, I've been working. I started my practice, my clinic, from scratch, and I got people. I asked each person if they wanted my services because I started from scratch. And it happens. A lot of people, you get 100 no's for one yes, and you have to work harder. So, so if you want a success, is 90% of transpiration and 10% of inspiration. So that's how I see it. So.
Yeah. So the exit issue is very, very complicated. When you're losing money, timing the exit is the most critical decision. It's the most difficult to take because it appeals to emotional attachment to your business, it appeals to personal networks, to shame, to losing the faces, all those factors combined. If you are an entrepreneur, make sure that your predictions, your business plan, once you run out of the predictions and you are falling into the loss area, the exit has to be quick, sharp, intelligent, and well negotiated. Because the more time you spend on adapting how to exit, the more money you lose in the process. And the hard is going to be the result. So that would be my best advice. Whenever I dragged my feet, whenever people told me that you are wrong, and I kept doing it, I lost more money than if I could have exited on time. So keep listening, take the best advice from the experts, market, make your business audited by specialists, and understand what it takes to exit on time, not after the time.
And if I may, I'll just add one thing. If I may add, when I was a young engineer starting 20 years ago, I was teaching some old-timers. I was trained in computer-aided design. They were used to drawing by the hand. So my job was to train them, to move them from the drawing board to the computer. And so they saw this young engineer coming in, and I'll be very honest, a black engineer, and they were laughing. And again, I'm being very honest. They were laughing, smiling when they saw me in front of the classroom going to teach them. And then as the class went on, the faces got longer and longer because it was complicated. They were not understanding things, right? At the end, and particularly two gentlemen, a Frenchman and by happenstance, a Belgian, for those of you that know our history, were the two that had the most difficulty. So I helped them, they got to know, and then at the end you earn their respect. So I think the lesson is don't let anyone ever define you. You define yourself. Go ahead, Samuel. Go ahead.
I think just to add, and I want to mention on a framework that exists. If you log into our framework, our website, www.equitybank.rw, we have Equity Investment Bank that is fairly new, 2 years old, but it provides you with some area opportunities on how you can invest. And we provide it in the whole of the Raja East Africa. It's not only Rwanda, but it gives you all these opportunities. On the last question that was asked about failure of loss, I think I'll go back to what I said. If you have a passion, like what one of the panelists said, if you are passionate, if you are about serving humanity, that's the purpose, there exists a business case. Don't fear. Press on, and it's about tweaking, and you get a business model. That's my answer. But if you do it just for money, you can't attach a human value, a social value on it, then you really need to do a lot of business plan. But the other one is no-brainer. Thank you.
There's a question here.
There were two people first, and then you'll be third. She was before, sorry. Yeah. But he'll be third.
Thank you. My question is, I think as Canadians and Rwandans, we are almost like have an advance in this race of having opportunities because we have both worlds. And being in Canada and seeing when I presented my idea to starting a not-for-profit organization in Rwanda, I can see the response from people here is the girl who used to be poor, who came to Canada, had an opportunity, and want to give back. So people were touched, and that's why I collected $11,000 10 years ago. I was really, really young. People trusted. They saw my heart, like, it's real. So even though it's hard to trust a not-for-profit organization, especially internationally, because people are hungry, people, they do what they gotta do to survive. So it's hard, but people trusted that because I wanna give back. How as a young person in Rwanda, probably this might be for Rwandan people who are in Rwanda, like the bankers, the investors, how do we convince Rwandan people to be self-reliant and help their own people? Support them, like my organization, when I go there and I have a meeting at the Gorillas Hotel, and I'm presenting the idea, for example, to build Bugesera for the homes for the kids that we have and the trade school that we have. How do we have you guys trust and respond to what I want to do for a non-for-profit? We pay, I started off like $1,000, $10,000, $80,000 a year and more that we send there. We have workers, people who work, finished studies and social studies at university. They're working through Shell to them, but how do we get you Rwandan investors and mentors to actually help your own people and not always expect the international aid, the international charities, World Vision, Compassion? No, this is me, Umunyarwanda, a Rwandan person who's doing it. But I can't find Rwandan investors, bankers, people who actually want to help or invest in it. How do we get them to become interested enough to be part of it? How do we do that?
Okay, so if I understand the question, so how do we get Rwandans to care about themselves, right? Okay, who wants to take that on? How do you get Rwandans to care about themselves and help NGOs like she's started, you know? Not just business, but also give back to society or give back to specific NGOs. Is it a trust issue? Is it, what is it? Anyone?
Well, I'll take a chance. I had a chance to see different communities, immigrant communities in Canada, and some communities are different from others on helping each other. The best model I encounter is the Jewish community. Larry can talk to you about that, how they're so well organized and how they can help themselves. I think the best way is just is able to meet the right people. It's hard to, you have to continue to knock on doors to write the best, the bankers, the investors, to able to enroll in your vision. And the second thing is tell your story and able to enroll in your vision. That's the most important thing in my sense.
What I was going to talk about, it's not so much charity as social entrepreneurship. There's a whole movement now towards social impact investing and social entrepreneurship, and it can be win-win. In other words, you could start a business that makes a profit, but also helps people, let's say in Rwanda. I know somebody here who started a business, not in Rwanda, but he's from here, started a business in Cambodia, where he trained underprivileged people there to do data entry. This is like 10, 15 years ago when it wasn't so simple. And they got hired by different newspapers to digitize all their old editions. So the Harvard newspaper from Harvard University sent copies of editions from 1895. They all got typed up by underprivileged children or young people in Cambodia. And Harvard paid for this, and the Cambodians got a job. They learned computer skills. They ended up getting a higher than average salary for a Cambodian. And as part of the employment package, they were sent to school for a few hours each afternoon. So this company still exists. It's called Digital Divide Data. It's actually mentioned in Thomas Friedman's book, but that's not how I know about it. I actually visited them in Cambodia and helped them a little bit too. So there's an example where everyone's making money and the lifestyle of the Cambodians improved. So keep in mind social entrepreneurship. In terms of just giving charity, I guess you have to look at where the money's coming from. There is a lot of credibility, and this is where I helped that Cambodian charity actually, and where I've helped the Rwandan charity we mentioned. You know, if you set up a charity here, get it registered with Revenue Canada under all the applicable laws, right away you have a lot of credibility, and it's presumed, and it's probably the case, that you're not stealing the money that's donated because you get audited by Revenue Canada. So, you know, Canada's a great place to raise money for charity. So those are the two angles: social entrepreneurship and charity.
Charity. Thank you.
I think I want to add something on that, because more often you find a misconception. And I want to put it very straight this way, that I talked about purpose, which is social, but backed by an economic engine. Don't lose about that. It must have an economic engine which makes it sustainable. Otherwise, if you just go not for profit on it's good, but then it's not sustainable and it's not scalable. So I want to divide maybe between your purpose and your business purpose, where your business makes money to support your purpose, which has a social impact about livelihood. I think when you combine that, then you don't lose it. If you take one arm of it, you lose it. Because if you just go for profit, it doesn't make sense and doesn't have the right principles. If you just go not for profit, then you don't have sustainability. You can't keep on getting people to support you. It doesn't make sense. So mind about the economic engine that supports a purposeful cause. I think I would put it that way.
We have
The lady in red.
We have one last question. There's a question here.
On the, okay, sorry, just one more comment and then we'll have the question.
No, the last question is... The NGOs and yeah, I'm myself a fundraiser and stuff. So my best advice is for the people, if you want to raise trust, if you want to raise money and build trust in any community, we have three key principles. One is the scale. You won't be able to ask for big sums of money. So what you do is you split it into small donations so that people don't feel the burden, the financial burden of doing it. Two is the accountability. And the accountability has something to do with the governance of your NGOs. What people do today is, if you want your NGO to be credible, to be reliable, to be, you just look for a board of advisors. You have a board, and the people you appoint on the board will increase the visibility and the credibility of your campaign. Three, you work on the attachment, the relation between the segment of the market you are targeting and how they are related to the cause. I'm a cancer survivor, for example, which is true, and I'm supporting anything related to cancer because it's part of, I'm related emotionally and physically and sentimentally, I'm in. So, scale, it's very important in community-based social marketing, accountability, and emotional attachment. If you play the three cards, you raise trust within any community all over the world. Okay, thank you. But I would be happy to talk to you because that's my area.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Avant qu'on m'a dit que je savais, monsieur le professeur, a dit qu'on fasse gutwadiza kibazo canje ndagishira kuri waserukiye banke Equity. Nitwa Muco w'Intore Boris Saint-Evrard ndumurundi. Question yanje iri simple cyane gose, twaje nk'abarundi.
Ko turi muri East Africa bakivuze mu Giswahili.
Naturamfashe. Twaje nk'abarundi abagenzi b'u Rwanda. Ikibazo canje kiroroshe ni kimwe. Kubera iki abarundi bari muri Canada comme diaspora tudafise droit yo kuguruza compte muri Equity ejo baratwangiye kubera iki why kubera iki de mu Rwanda umunsi hariho 70,000 refugiés bari mu Rwanda kumbe n'abandi bari basanzwe bari mu Rwanda est-ce que bo barafise et opportunité. C'est opportunité droit. Il doit avoir fixé oui ou non. Merci.
So the question, Samuel, I don't know how good your Kinyarwanda is, but or your Kirundi knows. Okay. So the question is, apparently there were some of our Burundian colleagues who wanted to open a bank account yesterday with your bank, and apparently they were not accepted. So Burundians, first of all, cannot open bank accounts here with equity, number one. Number two is there's Burundian refugees in Rwanda. Can they also open bank accounts in Rwanda as well? So two hot questions for you, Samuel.
Now, banking is regulated by central banks. We work under regulation. And one of the key things we do is what is called Know Your Customer, KYC, which is very key. And I wouldn't go to specific, but of course there are some requirements. For example, if you have a different nationality, then we'd like to know if you have a work permit. There are those regulations required by law. And when those are satisfied, then you can have an account. I wouldn't know the specific, I can pick it up after this, but that happens. For example, you would need a valid documentation, a valid passport, valid work permit, and such issues. Those are things that we check. But for specifics, I can, I think, handle it after this.
Okay, all right.
But for diaspora, you can open account online also if you have the nationality, Rwandan ID card, passport, all that.
Okay, thank you. So one last question, the lady in red, yes? Sorry. No, go ahead, sir. Go ahead. Not the lady. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. My name is Erickson Kavera. I'm Rwandan living in Toronto. And my question goes to Mr. Ejid. It's about a frustration that young people, young Canadian immigrants especially, that comes here with education from Rwanda, and once they arrive here, they find themselves doing something totally different from what they went to school for. Even here, let's say if you get education here in Canada, sometimes it's really hard to break into the labor market, and it could be very frustrating, and sometimes you think, why did I go to school in the first place if I ended up doing this? What is that piece of advice that you can give as a professor? You know, how do you look at it, you being on the other side of the classroom? What are the opportunities, or what is the big mistake that you see that, you know, people make that find themselves into that situation of doing something that they never wanted to do, or, you know, something that just came up to do just to pay bills, but really with no passion? And let me just mention this, Mr. Ejid, that I was intrigued by your story when you said that back soon after genocide, you were a truck driver, now you're a lecturer at universities on an international level. I thought that was very inspiring. So I thought I should mention that. And a quick second question goes to Mr. Samuel, the CEO of Equity Bank in Kigali. I was in Rwanda a few weeks ago, and I thought that customer service has improved a lot, considering last time I was there. What is it, you as a business owner, you're in retail business, you're in banking business, what is it that you're doing to improve a little more? Because it could be sometimes very frustrating how you get treated at a bank, you know, the speed of how they do things and everything. I mean, they've improved a lot, but I think there's still room for improvement. What is it that you're doing? What is it that you've done? What is it that you think you should do a little more to improve on what has been done? Thank you.
Well, the first question, which is probably the most interesting tonight because we have been struggling with this and this again and again. So let me make things clear. The United States and Canada, people are organized in corporations, societies. if you want to make it to the Society of Engineers, American Society of Engineers, or Canadian or Quebec Engineer Society, you have to follow the curriculum, the Quebec curriculum or the US curriculum in whatever state you are. Rule number one. No, so medical schools, lawyers, accountants, any profession. So they are organized in corporations, they are organized in societies, which follow the curriculum, which is dictated by the profession. If you are trained in Rwanda or Europe or France or UK, one of the things you have to keep remembering is that if you are looking for a job, first of all, jobs are at the bachelor's level. The engineers, the accountant, the bachelor's level. If you are looking for a job at the master's level, the immigrants will often make mistakes. Oviwanyu ukaza ngo warizi sinzi ibintu twatwarize nanjye navuye iwacu muhumure ndaza ndongeza hano barambwira bati rwose wowe urasubira muri baccalaureate ndavuga umwira kiye kumbwira ngo nsubire muri baccalaureate urashaka kunsuzugura cyenje gushaka masters. That's the first mistake. So I was looking for a master's and MBA actually because I didn't know how the profession is organized. I was trained as an accountant. I did my first degree in finance and accounting. So for me, it was natural to move to a master's because any African who steps into this country wants a master's, to a master's. But I forgot to ask information about how the profession, how the corporation is organized. So I should have gone back to the bachelor's degree and took some accounting courses which are missing to the curriculum to make sure that we have the same curriculum. So ntago bikomeye barakubwira gusa ngo koresha evaluation of your previous curriculum no ureba ahantu muhurira. Engineers barabikora, accountants barabikora, na medical school barabikora. Ibyo bintu utabizi, you make the mistake of kujya level yo hejuru akenshi abantu bose banyuze muri masters directly babuza akazi cyangwa ntago babonye akazi keza kubera ko grade itanga akazi ni bachelor's degree ni engineer, bachelor of engineering, bachelor niho abantu batangira akazi, ibindi ni amagrade ya promotion. Icyo ni ikintu dukeneye kumvikanaho. Iyo ufite courage, iyo ugize imana ukabyumva ubura n'umuntu muvugana akabikubwiza ukuri nuko mbabwira uyu munsi ukavuga utoke ngiye gupimisha ni 45% cyangwa se 40 ndayikora, then I move to the masters cyangwa se mbone engineer then mbona akazi. Icyo ni bye nuko nagize chance yo kujya muri PhD. So that level of understanding and interpretation of the curriculum is very important for immigrants. So tonight the message is please talk to people who have experienced those problems. Because she's wrapping up.
Service. This was for Samuel. The question was, the next one was for Samuel.
There was two questions for me. That's what.
There was 2 questions for you?
Okay. The stuff after the genocide. That's what the story. Nimwe navuze akazi kose mu buzima nabivuze kugira ngo nekane kari keza. Nago twese tuzakora politike. Genocide yararangiye. Noneho ndibyuka ndabaha kandidat gatosa birangire. Umuntu ahubwo atoki dukeneye abantu bajya muri administration, dukeneye abantu to run the economy, dukeneye abantu bakora ubucuruzi, dukeneye abantu bose. I decided to move to that service area, supporting service, gucuruza imodoka zishaje tukayakuzitwara mu Mombasa Kigali. Umuntu umwe ndarangirizaho umucuruzi turagenda barimo gushyiraho nibuka barimo kurahira muri parliament turimo gupakira Dubai turana gupakira munsi izuba riradukubita nabi cyane uko bakoze muri July hakwira atari ko kuje mbeshya ngo warize nkamba radupfiriye hano. Nawe yanzero numva muzikigana umuntu ukunda kuganira yitwa Ronjini ati urambeshya ngo warize ati kandi nabize kuri leta babaye abadepite. Navuga nto yariko twese umuhamagaro ushobora kubutandukanye ariko support your economy, support your country in whatever position you are. That's the message tonight. And I did it as a truck driver because we need cars, by the way, to run the government. Can't be supplying the government. So that's, you take it home. Ibintu nta kazi mu gifaransa ngo il n'y a pas de sot métier, il n'y a que de sottes gens.
And then we'll conclude.
I'll be very fast in answering that. I think one is thank you for acknowledging that the level of service has gone up. I can tell you, Rwanda in general, we have a direct intention to improve the level of service because you could see how much we want to scale up the service sector. From the government, from the private sector, that's where we are focusing on. And let me just say this. What we are doing as a bank, we have a long-term view of Rwanda, and we are investing in human capital. As you know, in service industry, it's all about people. And what we did when we opened the bank 4 years ago, there was a shortage of human capital in the banking sector. We recruited the young people from school, I can tell you, out of, we have a staff capacity of around 400 now, and out of 400, 350 are young kids from school, direct from school. We brought them to the bank, and we've made them bankers. And I just want to say that there is huge potential in the youth, because after just 4 years, most of them are now the managers in those banks now. Of course, so there was an issue of customer service because they are just from school. Customers are even more bright than the staff because they didn't know banking, but we had to make that decision because that is what was good for the banking sector as then. And so now, in the banking sector, we are almost at a stable level in terms of human capital. And I can assure you, next time you come, service will be there. We used to process loans in a month. Some loans now are done in 24 hours. We used to process credit cards, debit cards, maybe used to take 2 weeks. Now you open an account and you leave with your debit card there and there, take seconds, the credit card the same. So the level of service is competing favorably with the international standards.
Okay, so we're concluding. So now you know how they did it. Now it's your turn, so just do it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks.
All right. Please give a warm hand of applause for our panelists. Thank you very much. Now we know how they did it. Now it's our turn to do it. So before wrapping up, I just wanted to say that when we're going to leave here, we want to at least leave by allowing you to have a drink upstairs. So please network for 30 minutes and then head upstairs. Gahunda y'ejo bambwiye ko nago mwumvize ikinyarwanda cyinshi uyu munsi. Gahunda y'ejo izaba mu kinyarwanda kabisa. Nuko gusa twari kumwe n'urubyiruko kandi abo bose nago bazi ikinyarwanda nkamwe. Nimwumve ko natwe twagombaga kuganira n'abantu bameze nkatwe. Aba come from. Merci beaucoup. Yeah. Go ahead. So igitaramo is going to iraba on the 4th floor. So, you know, hari networking at 30 minutes and mutusange hejuru on the 4th floor tugira ngo tubasezeraho